Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, here to deliver you that morning fan show. Everybody, apologize for my kind of morning croaky voice. I have the coffee next to me, but I do have some good news to bring to you. We have been delivered another tweet from Fabrizio Romano. One to maybe kind of calm the nerves, let's say, a little bit. I'll get to the chat and say hello to you all in just a moment, but I'm pretty sure if you haven't already seen it, here it is right now. This is, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, the most recent tweet delivered by Fabrizio Romano, I think just fresh off the Twitter press this morning, let's say. And he says Pedro Porro to Tottenham is just a matter of time. All parties expect the deal to be completed and then officially sealed by the end of the weekend. So it kind of is sort of in connection to the fact that there sort of is like a lot of like different moving parts. I think with this deal, it wouldn't be a Spurs transfer if it didn't have a lot of different kind of moving parts to the deal. But Porro is being allowed to play in his Taça de Portugal Cup final against the likes of Porto, I believe. So he, in fact, could be given an opportunity to win a trophy before he comes to Spurs. So maybe he could bring a bit of that winning mentality over with us. But also, there's some other kind of details to it. I think the Spurs sell-on fee for Marcus Edwards is being reduced now. I think it was like 50% or something like that. That's probably being reduced maybe quite a bit so that Sporting can get a bit more coin out of it. I think it's going to be a 5-year deal that he's agreed to. He already has agreed to personal terms and everything with the likes of Spurs, I think like a few weeks ago or maybe a couple of weeks ago. So it does look like everybody, this is going to be wrapped up. I know it does seem like it's a little nerve wracking, like we could get hijacked here, but it does seem like, Spurs have had basically the semblance of an agreement here and they're kind of just waiting for the here we go. I think after he plays his cup final against the likes of Porto. And also, in case they do get maybe a bit worried, they can easily just trigger the release clause in case. But it also could be maybe because he could pick up an injury or something like that. Pray it doesn't happen, but maybe he does pick up an injury of some kind. Then they would have to look elsewhere. So that's probably maybe another reason why it's just stalling a little bit here. I could be making up the reasons, but there's kind of a lot of just different sort of variables to, let's say, this deal here. That's how I would put it, everybody. A lot of different variables to it. And again, if you did want to just know how kind of the money works for it, I think it's going to be a 45 million euros paid over maybe 3 to 4 installments, could be paid over 2 to 3 installments, I think over kind of a 2.5 year period. So that's kind of all the sort of details of the deal that you do need to know. And this morning, Fabrizio Romano, I think, did again, of course, calm the nerves at least a little bit for some of us when it comes to the news of Pedro Porro. So there you are, everybody. In case you were curious about maybe any updates or anything, that's what I've seen for now. But I do kind of have some questions maybe in case Pedro Porro still does come through. There's some things we have to look at, and one of them could be, can you play Perisic and Porro with our very leaky defense? This was brought up by Sean Butler, the lovely man, and he obviously is kind of very concerned about that defense of ours. Our defense kind of, succumbs to any type of pressure. They're very leaky defense. And with maybe a more attack minded kind of a fullback system or wingback system, excuse me, could we maybe leak even more goals? I'd be curious to see what you guys have to say about that. I kind of think we'll actually have a lot more pressure relieved sometimes, because I think part of the reason that we probably concede so many goals is because we actually kind of just give the ball away, it feels like, too often. And then having maybe a more technical player, just much more composed and better player on the ball like Pedro Porro could relieve a bit of pressure that maybe players like Emerson and Doherty haven't been able to do for us on that right side for us. And also, let's be honest, that right wing back spot with Pedro Porro, now Kulusevski at right wing, and Romero, it's just looking really fire there. It's just looking really sexy. Let's be honest, everybody. But let me know what you think of that one. Let me know. Does it maybe, promote that a more attacking minded, kind of setup, or could we be leaking more goals? Let me know if that makes any sense to you. And if you have any comments on that, the chat, please. Also, with Porro coming in, who goes? Will they keep 3 right wingbacks around this season? Will Emerson stay around? Will Doherty stay around? Do let me know, everybody, because it is kind of, it feels a bit crazy to keep around 3 right wing backs. We've already seen what's happened to Jed Spence in the case of having 3 right wing backs. He's never really seen any sort of playing time, and he's been honestly kind of, let's say, just left out in the cold to a degree. Will that happen to Doherty or Emerson with if Pedro Porro does come in? And also, who do we still get rid of? Are they going to be rid of Jed Spence? Is he going to a Premier League club? Is he going to, Liga? I think there's some rumors of him going to the Bundesliga still as well. So let me know your thoughts on all of that too, everybody. And then this is a very, very scary news for me. Very, very scary news. Sevilla manager Sampaoli wants Bryan Gil as their priority target over at Sevilla, and Tottenham are, I think, in talks or at least willing to go into talks. And this is just very, very scary news to anybody that wants to keep the prophecy of Gil Messi very much alive at Tottenham Hotspur. And I really don't think that this is necessary. I feel like we need like I think we need six attackers to be able to choose from no matter what the situation is, because we go still into a Champions League. We still have these FA Cup games. We have the Premier League. We have very kind of injury prone players, I think, at the moment, kind of to a degree, with kind of Richarlison and Kulusevski, especially, I would say, more so kind of Richarlison, because he hasn't really played like very many minutes, but he continues to find himself, I think, injured. And I hope that really doesn't end up being the case for the rest of the season, because I think he needs to get some minutes under his belt for us to also maybe take the burden away from someone like a Harry Kane. Kulusevski is also not, let's say, been very consistently available. He's had like kind of knocks here and there, is pulled out of games kind of last minute. So I feel like we have to keep a Bryan Gil. If we get rid of Bryan Gil, we have to replace him, I think, with another forward of some kind. It just seems silly to get rid of him, because then I feel like, again, we find ourselves with a bit of an imbalance in the squad. And we saw kind of, at least in my opinion, what Bryan Gil can bring when we don't have Kulusevski available. Of course, he's not really the perfect Kulusevski replacement or alternative, but I think he can do a job as a Kulusevski alternative, and he can bring that creativity that we were so lacking on the right at times. So I don't know. At least for me personally, I think it's a huge miss by Spurs, and I don't know. I don't know how seriously to take it, but it was kind of scary to see this, I think, from Fabrizio Romano this morning, and especially anybody that does want to keep Gil Messi around and does want to see him continue to sort of kind of grow with Spurs. And also, I think Stellini even promised us at the beginning of the season, or in like one of the press conferences as well, like that he was going to stay at Spurs till the rest of the season. So this is kind of a bit of a U-turn, I think, on the whole Bryan Gil situation, I think, here. So I am a bit worried. And I know anybody that does like Bryan Gil as well, like myself, Dave, is a bit worried, I would imagine. I know maybe Wayne Bonner, if you're in the chat, Wayne Bonner, haven't taken a look at it, but if you're in there, Wayno, bet you're quite worried as well, my man. And then also give me your starting lineup, everybody, versus Preston, because a lot of people want to kind of put all their eggs in that FA Cup basket. I'm the same way, but I also trust some of these players to be able to do a job and give some of our other players a rest. I think Harry Kane is due a rest, but some people think he should start, then maybe be, subbed off for maybe someone like a Richarlison. I can understand that argument. Maybe you want to be a bit safer about it, but I actually kind of am considering starting Richarlison and maybe bringing on Harry Kane later in case you need to go about it that way, because I'd rather maybe just see Harry Kane just kind of get like a full 90 minutes maybe off. But if you really do want to ensure, the result, maybe you do start with Harry Kane, see how it goes from there, bring on Richarlison later. But let me know kind of your starting lineup. Which sort of players would you bring in and out? Would you like to see Papa Matasar maybe? Would you like to see Kulusevski maybe be given a rest and Bryan Gil, right, be given a chance in the FA Cup again? Let me know, everybody, when it comes to your starting lineup versus the likes of Preston, everybody. But I'm going to get to the chat here and see what everybody has to say. Hopefully, you're all good, everybody, and keeping well this morning. We got Steve D in the chat said, I've been on occasions made cynical look positive this season, but surely we beat Preston. And I've said to you, Steve D, then you saw in the chat there, when it comes to these sort of games, I think it's always a slippery slope for Spurs, if you ask me, Steve D. We've always found these games to be slippery, and I won't rule out any possibility. I really won't rule out any possibility, but big up, my man. Good to see you in here. Good to see you, Sue Smith, as well. Hopefully you're keeping well. Mick Hermelach is in the house as well. Hopefully you're keeping well, Mick. NJ123, afternoon. I'll hope you are well. Big up, boys. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you, NJ. Got Cola in the house, too, saying good morning and afternoon. Good to see you, Cola. Hopefully you're doing well, my man. Dan Coy's afternoon all would really have been nice to have our signings at the start of the window rather than last minute. As always, come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army. Still at work, so looking forward to this show. Keeping me company. We'll do our very best, Dan, here. But I feel like I understand that Spurs, especially this time around, Dan, I feel like they're always been a team that, right, operates kind of late in the window and waits till like opportunities arise and don't act quickly, and they don't kind of succumb to maybe what a club initially wants. They'll grind them down to make it really difficult and make them never want to do a deal with us ever again, is usually how kind of Spurs operate. But I feel like this time around, I'm with you, where they had kind of an unprecedented time where there was a World Cup right before. the January transfer window, which meant that Spurs weren't playing. There were kind of no distractions really to a degree for Spurs. It felt like they could have gotten maybe a lot of sort of scouting done ahead of time, a lot of sort of at least maybe initial business ahead of time, maybe with selling certain players or things like that, or even with bringing in players nice and early with the likes of Pedro Porro. I know Pedro Porro wasn't even playing, I think, in the World Cup or called up to the squad, unless I'm mistaken with that. So they could have tried to maybe go after some type of deal ahead of time with that. So it really is a bit frustrating. But maybe the reason why they weren't able to do kind of those deals or get the business done ahead of time is as much as I think Paratici has done a very good job for us up until this point, like he may have kind of screwed us a little bit in terms of the investigations and the alleged kind of case that's against him, and then maybe that was probably a distraction for Spurs. Maybe there was something behind the scenes that was sort of distracting them from kind of being able to do that business done ahead of time. If that's the excuse, if it was just basically Paratici kind of being thrown behind bars and they were kind of dealing with that and learning how to deal with that, and if that's the excuse, it's not a great one, but it's probably the more likely one, if anyone, they may have for it. But I just feel like with that World Cup, ahead of time where they weren't even playing at all, Dan, it felt like it was a really good opportunity for Spurs to do some business ahead of time because there's kind of no games at all like that's happening. Like it's all happening elsewhere. So I'm with you, my man. It really could have been a good opportunity. Good to see you, Rishi. Hopefully you're keeping okay. Dave will make his return. Don't you worry, my man. John Stokes saying, I'm waiting on my big screen. Big up, everyone. John Stokes, how am I looking on the big screen, my man? Moldy Pickle says, keep the music going. I'm doing the washing up. I was actually trying to get a last minute coffee in Moldy. It's still very, very hot. Carl Simpson's in the house. Good to see you, Carl. Good afternoon, gents. Aaron Robinson, big up, lads. This will make my drive home more interesting. In Conte we trust. Come on, you Spurs. I love that, Aaron. Hopefully we're making the drive interesting, my man. Phil's in the house. Big Dave is back. Afternoon to both of you. Have a great show as always, and won't be on the fan show today. Working, but I will see you soon. Come on, you Spurs. Conte and Levy out. Big up, Phil. Hopefully you're keeping okay, my man, and hopefully the work isn't grinding you down too much because Spurs at this moment are grinding people down with this Pedro Porro situation. We just want it to be done, Phil, and I imagine you just want the day to be over as well with the likes of work. But big up, my man. It's good to see you at least in the chat. Big up, Phil. George Hill's in the house as well. Morning, Jack. We're waiting until the January 1st to pay the price. We were quoted at from January 1st. Shows our ambition. Hoping the English club is in for Skriniar is us. Not holding my breath, though. Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, I think when it comes to the Skriniar situation, and then I'll get to the Pedro Porro one, George. With the Skriniar situation, I've made it very clear. I feel like he is headed to PSG from the very beginning. Like since last summer, he's made kind of his at least sort of his intentions clear that it looked like Skriniar wanted to go to PSG. PSG aren't really willing, by the looks of it, I don't know why, to maybe pay any sort of money for him. It seems like they just are looking to try to get him on that free contract. And maybe he wants that free contract sort of signing because that means he can get like a huge pay rise and he can get a huge pay boost and everything. And his agent gets a big pay boost, whoever that may be as well. So it does sort of kind of make sense that Skriniar is kind of holding out for maybe that free contract. But if he does get convinced by a club, and if maybe an agent of his maybe is convinced by a certain club and the project and everything at hand, I think Inter will happily take it. I think Inter basically are willing to sell to almost anyone. They do want to get some money out of it. It's just whether Skriniar is willing to let them kind of sell him now, but and sacrifice maybe that big payday that he could grant himself, and going to PSG on a free. So that's how I kind of see it, George. If that's still not the case, let me know. I have seen though that Spurs are one of those English clubs supposedly, and but there's like I think a few English clubs I'd imagine interested in like Skriniar. I don't think that's probably maybe much of a stretch. But what I would also say on Pedro Porro is it is quite funny to see us start at January 1st, where the price is 45 million, and we've negotiated it all the way to January 27th to the price of 45 million. We've really grinded it down. We've really grinded it down there, George. Sebas Wolf, morning, Jack. Have we signed Mbappe yet? I guess not, Sebas. I think we just missed him, Sebas. Just missed him, brother. But hopefully you're keeping well this morning, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Nice and sunny day, my friend. Nice and sunny day. Norwegian Viking, with our luck, Porro gets a long-term injury in the final. Yeah, it could end up that way. And I think that's why Spurs are probably being quite careful at this moment, Mr. Viking. DJ Samuel, good afternoon. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you, DJ. Hopefully you're keeping well, my friend. Mary W. Hi, Jack Top, man. Good to see you, Mary. Hopefully all is well today. And let's be honest, Mary, we just want this Pedro Porro deal to be done, and I'll keep my eye on the Twitter as well as keeping you engaged in these kind of fan show discussions. But I just want this to be done. I just want this to be over with. But big up, Mary W. Hopefully you're keeping well. We also have Dermot in the house. We'll be speaking to him later. Mark is in here saying Stellini on Danjuma's best position. He's as a 10 or a striker. That is worrying. He doesn't play them positions. So no Sonny benching then. I'm not sure. I think Danjuma's best positions are, I think what he maybe means by like as a 10 is like, as like a left winger, type 10, because that's what he played for the likes of Bournemouth. He was able to do that to a degree, I think, at Villarreal at times, but he plays at like a second striker. So I believe me, I think he's going to be playing and slotting in on that left wing as some sort of substitution, an option for Sonny. Believe me, I don't think I think that's how I see it, at least, Mark. Um, he's coming, Patty. Don't worry, brother. He's coming. He's coming. Good to see you in here, my man. Craig Bowler, it looks like it's all done. He just has to play the final before it's made official. We've overpaid for him. They've driven a ridiculously high price for him. They kind of fair play to them, Craig, I must say, because Spurs are always known for playing hardball, and we like they're playing hardball with us. Like, let's be honest, the likes of Sporting. So fair play to them. Like they're grinding us down as much as we've been grinding them down. So you got to appreciate kind of the battle that's at hand. It must be honest, like it really is quite infuriating and quite frustrating to watch. But I would say fair play to them, because a lot of teams usually probably give in to sort of Spurs's kind of, ridiculous sort of ways and business and going after it. But they've really kind of, stood up a good defense. They've stood up a good defense. Daniel Sandoval, big up, big up. Carl Simpson, appreciate it. Don't worry, Jack Zaniolo will be a Spurs player by the end of the weekend as well. Zaniolo looked, I've heard he wants AC Milan. Maybe AC Milan aren't capable of kind of bringing him in, Carl, but I haven't checked in on that. I'll be honest, I don't want Zaniolo. I'm not going to, it just feels like it's, the injury proneness and the fact that I feel like he's never really nailed down a true position and been able to really produce numbers for a while in that true position. It's just, I don't know what's Zaniolo for me, but you could see why like Antonio Conte would like him. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful. He's graceful when he skins past players, loves, being proactive and trying to be positive and take it past players. But he's also kind of a bit of a like a nutcase, I think, on the pitch as well. He's a bit chaotic, at least in my opinion. And so I don't know. It's just not really super excited on Zaniolo, Carl. I'm not super excited on him. David Notley, there's nothing being done about Porro transfer till about tomorrow's Portugal Cup final. It's being heavily reported in Portugal. Yep, David, I'm in agreement there on you. Ian Ferguson, man, we can't lose the Il Messi. Ian, not our baby, baby. Not our baby. Not Il Messi, not our baby. John Stokes, exactly right. Fabrizio Romano, Pedro Porro to Tottenham, matter of time. All parties expect the deal to be completed and then officially sealed by the end of the weekend. Thank you very much, John, for putting that in there, my friend. We also have Robert McDonald in the house. Good to see you, Robbo. And he says, heard the Danjuma deal loan was tied in with an offloading of fees related to Juan Foyth. Typical Levy-esque financial maneuvering. I'm wondering if also Gio Lo Celso has some sort of, kind of part to play in this, maybe with the buy option. I would think maybe if we perhaps he has a great season with Spurs here, Rob, and then Gio Lo Celso is, happy to still stay over at Villarreal. Maybe we look at it that way, and then they sort of fashion some type of cheap deal where it's kind of like, maybe 10 million or something for Danjuma or something like that, and then they just get Gio for free. I don't know. I'd imagine that maybe Gio could be used in the deal if we did want to actually sign Danjuma on a permanent afterwards. But big up, Robert, and it's good to see you in the chat here, my man. But yeah, the Portuguese teams don't back down on the prices. Never happened. And also recently, let's be honest, Carl, like they've gotten the most out of Premier League teams. Like they really are getting like really high prices out of a lot of Premier League teams. You look at Nunez, you look at Nunes, you look at the likes of even Bruno Fernandes, and I think just a ton of players have just come in for big money from the Portuguese league, and a lot of them have been absolutely brilliant. So like, it's not to say that it's actually I wouldn't say it's at all Farmers League, because a lot of the players that have come from there have now kind of, to the most part, I would say, bar Darwin Nunez, are some of the best players in the league right now. Also, you look at Ruben Neves and players like that. I mean, you look at also who is it that Ruben Diaz as well, right? Like tons of players have been brought in from the Portuguese league and in the Premier Liga, and have absolutely taken the Premier League by storm. So if you wanted to have any more confidence about Pedro Porro, maybe that's a little something else, is that the Premier Liga has produced some top players. But everybody, I am gonna get to the chat here. Or Moondog saying, "Afternoon, Jack. Porro will be announced Sunday. Member for 14 months." Absolutely right, Moondog. I think they're just waiting until after that cup final, and they're just praying that nothing bad happens. I think that's how they're looking at it, Moondog. And for 14 months, really do appreciate your support, my man. You're a top man, and I do have the Flat Cap Army coaster right here, and I got the Hoy Bjerg one as well right next to me, my man. Big up, brother. But I'm going to bring in the guests here and get these conversations going on all the sort of kind of news and business that we have to do. And we're starting off with the Queen, Ellie.
Jack, how you doing, man? How you doing?
Not doing well, Ellie, actually. I know I, was bragging about that tweet that I had earlier, but deep inside, I'm not doing the best because Hill Messi might be leaving me, but I'm not
Oh
sure if
yeah.
that's just very personal to me. Is there something you would, do you want to start there? Do you want to start with Pedro Porro? Do you want to start about Preston? You know,
Um, no,
yeah.
I'll start with Gil Messi. I love him as well. I think he's fantastic. Very intelligent footballer. Moves like a gazelle. Makes pockets of space. Very intelligent off the ball as well with his runs. He takes players out. See, that's what people got to notice. What you do off the ball, not just what you do on the ball. Because on the ball, he's a bit lightweight, but in his defence, he's been putting it about and he's been trying his best, you know. And there are physical players in the Premier League who will just barge you off the ball, however big you are, you know. They say the big you are, the harder you feel. But Gil Messi's done well. I think when he's had his chances, he's done very, very well, especially against Frankfurt when he done that brilliant dribble. It was like Ricky Villa-esque, that was. I love
Mhm.
him. I'm
I
with
feel
you on that one, Jack.
I think apparently it's their Sevilla manager, their new one, Sampaoli. I think that guy, I am a bit of a fan of. He said that he's basically made Hill Messi his main priority, which just isn't good. I'll be honest. Like that's not
I
good to hear
know.
those sort of words. It's not like they're slightly interested. Apparently, top priority is bringing in Bryan Gil back to Sevilla. So it just worries me
Oh,
because Stellini also said that he was sticking around for the rest of the season. It seemed like Conte
mm,
was also warming up to him a little bit to
mm.
Ellie, right? He related him to
Yeah,
Bernardo Silva. So it's a bit of a
yeah.
U-turn, in my opinion.
And they really do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still here. The
Mm,
fans really love him, yeah. So they've warmed to him. And he's responded with some really good, tricky performances, home and away. So look, I think we should try and keep him. Don't offload him because he's going to be a star player in the future. A lot of people doubted him early doors, but he's showing his true colours and he's building himself up as well. In
mm,
training, I see him doing the weights so that he can handle the physical side because he can definitely handle the technical side of the Premiership. And you need little players like that in the middle to create. You need somebody different, and
mm.
that's what he is. Yeah, come on, Gil Messi.
I just hope maybe they don't give in because it just seems like also I think it's an imbalance, right? Like I feel like this whole season we've had a bit of an imbalance in the squad. When Kulusevski was hurt, we didn't really use Hill until now as that sort of alternative. We kept like kind of mixing and matching and putting players in different positions and just felt like I think we
Yeah,
need an even a number of attackers up there. I think we need 6 attackers, have Kane
yeah,
and Richarlison rotate at striker, Sonny and Danjuma rotate at left wing, and then Hill and
yeah.
Kulusevski rotate at right wing. I'd rather it be that way.
Yeah, because Richarlison and Kulu, they're dropping down like flies, aren't they? They're like half the season they're injured so far, so we haven't had them to call on. But now they're back, and we should be pushing on now, pushing up that league, getting fourth spot sealed because we don't want Newcastle to take our spot. But it looks like that way, Jack. I'm not confident that we're going to make top four this time. I'm
Mm,
not confident, but with this Porro signing, it might be the little bit of a catalyst that might spark a rejuvenation at Spurs. Because we need somebody to link up with Kulu. Because
mm,
Kulu's got all the tricks in the book, hasn't he?
he
You
does.
know, and he's got a fantastic pass on him. Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's see what happens. Last time they didn't give us no chance and we got the fourth spot. So
Mm.
let's see.
It
Come
feels like
on.
Ellie, even if it were just Pedro Porro and Danjuma, that doesn't really, I think, make it that great of a window because we didn't exactly get rid of many players that I know we could get rid of. We still didn't bring
No,
in a center back or anything like that. I
I
think if we
know.
did bring in a center back, it would improve it drastically. And also, if we
I
got rid of
know.
a center back, that would improve this window, I think, drastically.
It would do because look, if you look at how many goals we've conceded, 31, and we scored 40. That's only 5 less than Arsenal, Jack. So
Mm,
it's we're waning in the defence. We need to sort this out, right? If we don't address it before that transfer window ends, all fall leaving because his priority is to make top four. We know
mm,
his priority is not to win trophies because it
yeah.
is 22 years now that he's been in charge since 2001 and only one trophy, but we've managed to get 6 starts in the Champions League. If it might be 7, but I might be wrong there. But either way, 6 or 7, that's what his priority is because that's what brings in the big bucks. The
Mm,
FA Cup doesn't bring in the big bucks, but it brings in glory. And our club is about glory. It's not about what your bank balance is. At the end of the day, we can be sustainable anyway, Jack, because we've got enough fans buying things in the Spurs
exactly right.
shop. We've got enough fans buying the food. We've got enough fans buying the drink. Now we need enough fans to be treated to a centre back. We
I think it.
deserve it. We
I
don't
think that
deserve Eric Dyer.
the Swiss Ramble, Ellie, the Swiss Ramble came out with something recently. I think they said that Spurs had, I think they were in the top 3 for match day revenue so far in terms of the Champions League
The
over this
Swiss
season.
Ramble. Well done, the Swiss Ramble.
Yeah,
You
the
know
Swiss
what?
are getting in on the financial
The
reports
Swiss,
early.
that's it. And Roman Vega, our former player, he's a Swiss as well. So he calls the shots. I like him on Twitter. He actually calls out Spurs. You know, he's not an ambassador to the club, so I'm presuming that he can speak his mind. You know, whereas you got players like Steve Perriman. I love his podcast. Everybody should get over and watch that because he really does give you the lowdown on what's happening or not, what his opinion is of what's happening at Spurs. Sorry. So do you know what, Jack? Sometimes in life you get what you deserve, right?
Mhm.
Levy's getting what he deserves because he hasn't invested all the time at the right times. You know, now this is the right time to get that centre back, right? It was the right time in the summer, but now he's got a second bite of the cherry. If he doesn't take it and we start leaking goals throughout the season, it's only going to take Harry Kane and Sonny and a few other players to buck up their ideas, right,
Yeah,
and get more goals than the opposition. But you
yeah,
can't always rely on that. You
no.
have to have a solid defence.
Mm,
Liverpool proved it when they won the league, right?
mm,
And Newcastle now, they've shored up their defence. They're really, really good defensively. You know,
mm,
all right, they're exciting going forward, but their defence is more solid than ours. And we don't want to be left behind. You know, if we get that top 4 space, we can push on for next season. But I really do want to win an FA Cup or the Champions League would be perfect. You know,
yeah.
either one of them or both. I'm not greedy. We'll have both.
I always go for both, Ellie. 2 for 1 special.
Yeah,
Can you play
yeah.
Perisic and Porro though, Ellie, with that very leaky defense that you were talking about? Because they're both so attack minded, right? Can we get away with that?
Well,
2 attack minded right wing backs.
it all depends on who he plays in front of them, you know, in the middle, because
Mm,
that middle will. They're really good at surefiring the holes when there's 3 in there. When there's
mhm.
2 in there, we get found wanting because if you're playing Emerson, who's not disciplined, and you're
Yeah,
playing Sessignon on the other side, you're not going to get them tucking in and helping out those 2. I'm
yeah.
glad that Bentancur's back because he makes a very good partnership
Mhm.
with my man Højbjerg. But I would love to see Basuma in there as a free, you know, because it'll give us more protection for that defence. And then if they're not going to go and get this centre back, it looks more likely that they're not, right? We're going to be leaking goals if we don't shore up that midfield. Because
Could
once
it
they get past there, we're very poor.
could we maybe with someone like Pedro Porro though now and Perisic on the other side, could maybe it's that sort of because Højbjerg and Bentancur have really, produced this season in terms of goals and assists, right? They've been
Yes,
kind of
they
carrying,
have.
carrying the rest of the team in that department to a degree,
I think they
alongside
got 9.
Harry Kane, right? They're kind of carrying us in
Yeah.
that department. So
Have they got 9 goals?
could
Yeah,
Pedro
9
Porro
goals
allow
between
them
them.
to kind of, not have to push forward as much, or maybe they can be a bit more, careful because they
Defensive.
know
Yeah.
they have more creativity from out wide now.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? You're right in that respect. But do you know what? I love attacking football. I
Yeah.
really do. And with Porro and Danjuma coming in, it's going to give us 2 brilliant options. Maybe one off the bench, maybe one starting. I think Porro's going to be the starter and Danjuma's going to be the one off the bench. But
Mm.
you know what? I just want to see exciting football again, something to get me off my seat. And if I go into the standing area, I want somebody to make me feel like I'm part of the passion. You go to Spurs, your heart is with Spurs all the time, and then it deflates as you see the poor football being played.
Mm.
So I want to see the excitement come back to White Hart Lane, because you know what, the crowd has been quite flat this season. I haven't been for the last 2 games either at
Mm.
home. I didn't go. I just stayed away. I had other things to do,
Mm.
and that's bad for me because I'm like staunch Spurs. But I'm going to go to the Man City game,
Mm.
and I'm going to the AC Milan game and the West Ham game,
Yeah.
100%.
Come on.
So I'll be back in full flow, and I want to see some really exciting football. The football that we saw under Poch, the football that we saw under Redknapp. So
Or
that
even the football
so
we saw just at the end of last season, Ellie, was terrific.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we weren't too bad in the last 10 games of the season. We picked up a lot in terms of our overall play, and it was quite exciting at times. But
Yeah.
I just want to see somebody bombing down that wing like Tony Galvin used to do and Gareth Bale used to do, and cutting inside and scoring a worldie. And then we need Son to get his shooting boots on again, don't we? Because
Don't
he's
we?
lost his way. Yeah. But Sonny is a good player. Every week you're saying to yourself, is it going to be this week? And it's not happened so far.
Mm.
So we've got to watch this space, haven't we? Let's see what
Certainly do.
happens.
Certainly do.
Yeah,
Moondog saying,
yeah.
"Beautiful, Ellie. Come on, you Spurs." I mean,
Come
honestly,
on.
beautiful description of the past, and honestly, what we need in
Yeah,
this team is what she brought up there, Moondog. Exactly right. And then
yeah.
Patty quickly says, "Ellie, I saw your tweet last night. I will text you that info once I finish work," says Patty
Thank you,
Hartnett.
Paddy. Thank
Good man
you.
he is. Good man
You're
he
a good
is.
man. He's
Uh,
nearly as good as Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
That's high praise,
Sorry,
Patty.
Paddy,
That's
but
high
he's my
praise.
number one fan. He's my number one man.
You should be honored,
Yeah,
Patty. You should be honored.
yeah.
Rob
You're number
McDonald.
2.
Rob McDonald saying Kane could be out for this game, by the way. He didn't train due to
Yeah,
illness. Danjuma is available, and Stellini praised his versatility. Thoughts on that, Ellie? I mean, who
yeah.
would you like to see start in this game against Preston? I mean, let's go through the lineup. Who do you want to see play?
The thing is, I'd like to see Danjuma to see what he can do, and what better way to start your career by scoring a hat trick in the FA Cup? That'd be nice to see. But you know what? I like to see Richarlison as well, because I want him to play a forward role, and then let Sonny take Perisic role. Don't play Perisic, play Sonny, because the balance is there. You get Richarlison. He needs to get a few goals under his belt to give him confidence for the rest of the season, because he's
Hmm.
only scored 2 and he's been injured a lot, and then he had a fantastic World Cup, and then he's come back and he's injured again. So we need to see the best of Richarlison, because he's got a lot to show the boy.
Yeah.
He's got a lot in his locker, but he hasn't been showing it. Yeah, so I want to see that combination: Danjuma,
Yeah.
Sonny, and Kulu on the right. But we're not going to have Porro, are we? Because he's playing in the cup final in
No.
his own in Portugal.
He might win a
Yeah,
trophy before he comes to Spurs, Ellie.
yeah, and hopefully, I see a lot of people joking that's going to be the end of his trophy haul in
Hopefully not.
Twitter.
Hopefully
They're
not.
right sarky in Twitter, aren't they?
It's too even we do it to ourselves even. We even make fun of ourselves.
Yeah,
Don't like it sometimes. But Richie, I feel like Richie this season, Ellie, he's had a lot of opportunities to give Kane kind of a rest and give Kane, a breather and allow
yeah.
him to sort of kind of lick his wounds from all the times he
Uh,
gets kicked and, pushed
I
around and
know.
everything. And it feels like Richie's never really been available, right? And it's been a bit frustrating. Harry Kane's had to play every minute basically of almost
Yeah,
every game this season. And Richarlison, that's why for me personally, I kind of want Richarlison to start because that's kind of what he's been brought in here to do is not only
Yeah.
challenge Kane a little bit, but also be that one that can give him rest, but also still be good enough for what we want to be, right?
Yeah, and I personally think he's better as a striker because when he's receiving the ball, his first touch is really poor. I've been watching him quite closely, right? His first touch, he doesn't hold the ball up very well, and he bounces off him and then he'll try and win it back. I'll give him his dues. He is a hard-working player. He
Hmm.
doesn't give up, and he's got skullduggery and shithousery inside his mentality is to be a winner. So I want to see the best of him, and I think the best of him would be make sure that he's in that striker role, and then
Hmm.
let Kulu feed him and Sonny feed him, and then Sonny can chip in with a goal or two as well against Preston because they've
Would you
had
give
quite a poor run, haven't they, Preston? They've just picked up against Birmingham. Yeah,
Did
they
not
had
even know that.
four
You've
out
done
of
the scouting
five.
report ahead of me, Ellie. You've done your
Yeah,
research ahead of me
yeah,
this time.
they've had some poor results, but that goes out the window in the FA Cup because the FA Cup can, it can pull out some really big surprises. And
And
hopefully,
they're playing at
we're not
home
one
here,
of the
right?
scapegoats. Yeah, they're playing at home. Their fans will be behind them. They'll be right up for it. So we've got to be on our guard. We've got to be right on it from minute one. We can't be
Mm,
doing this reserving energy for the second half because they might pop two in, and
I'm
then
with
who's
you.
who's to know that we won't, we won't recover because their crowd will be on us, and then the nerves are set in, and then we won't get back into the game. So I think we've got to score the first goal and then score another goal very quickly to put quieten their crowd down. Yeah,
Mm,
come
I'm
on,
with you there.
Spurs. We got to win a cup. Come on,
Would you would you
what is
give
it? 15
Kulusevski
years?
would you give Kulusevski a rest and maybe
No,
no,
no
no,
way.
no?
No, no.
Can't give
He's our
Kane and
playmaker.
you can't give Kane and
No.
Kulusevski a rest at the same time, you think?
No, definitely
Mm,
not. And
no.
Kulu's been on it. That little dribble he did when he got it off the corner flag and he just went flying past them, left them for dead, laid it
Ah,
off to Emerson, and Emerson done a really good shot, but their goalie was up to it. So, no, I can't see Kulu being rested in this one. We need his creativity. We need his
mm,
ball carrying skills as well. And he's such a cultured player, Jack.
yeah,
He can hold the ball for us. It
yeah.
doesn't bounce off him. It's like glue when it gets
Mm.
to his feet. The boy is magic. I love
Speaking of
him.
speaking of actually, the likes of Kulu, do you feel like, he would you then just play him in this one so he can kind of get his legs back, right? Get into a bit of confidence because he's actually also,
Yeah,
right, dealt with a bit of injury. So I think bringing him back is probably smart for
yeah,
this one. And
yeah,
maybe with also Pedro Porro though, right, Ellie? Maybe one of the last questions here I have for you. With Pedro Porro coming in or likely to come in, who do we get rid of? Do we get rid of Jed Spence and Emerson?
yeah.
Do we get rid of Jed Spence and Doherty? Does Conte keep around three right wing backs? Does he keep around Doherty and Emerson with
Mm.
Pedro Porro? How do you see that going?
I think he's going to keep Doherty. Emerson, I'm not sure of, but I don't know because I think we offered him to Brentford. I think on loan, or no, Jed Spence we offered to Brentford on loan, and they didn't want him. So that's what I heard on the grapevine that we offered him to Brentford, and they didn't want him on loan. Um, so do you know what? It'd be a good idea to loan him back to someone like Middlesbrough in the Championship, even just give him some footballs. Because if a Premiership club, they can see that he hasn't been playing as well. So he's had 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, but he's probably had about 20 minutes game time if you total it all up in every game. Yeah,
Mm,
I think he came on 15 minutes from the end against Forest. Maybe loan him back to Forest, if they want a championship.
yeah.
Um, if he wants a championship run, back to Middlesbrough or back to Forest if he wants to stay in the Premiership.
Mm,
Because it doesn't look like Conte he's not feeling the player, is he? He's
no,
not.
no.
No. So I think out of the two, I think Doherty's the one who's going to be kept
Mm,
out of Emerson and Doherty. I think because of his experience.
yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like recently with Emerson's performances, it's almost kind of confused me even
I
further, Ellie,
know.
about like the
A
future of
weird
all of them,
one.
to be honest. And I think when
Yeah,
Doherty was given his chance, when it felt like Emerson was being shown the door and Doherty was being given his chance, I feel like Doherty didn't exactly take his chance, if you know what I
No,
mean,
he
either.
didn't.
And
He
so it's
didn't.
a confusing one. It's a confusing one for me.
Especially against Arsenal, he was very poor.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm with
don't
you.
know. Emerson's a bit weird, isn't it? That one, you don't know what you're going to get with him. You're going to either get a stinker performance or a worldie. You don't know he's a strange one, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I know he's been working on himself and he's been working on his game, right? So, I don't know what goes through Conte's head. It seems like Emerson's the new boy in favour. But once Porro comes in, they're all going to be put by the wayside, aren't they? They're all
Yeah.
going to be on the bench, warming
Yeah.
the bench. Yeah,
Yeah. You would think so.
yeah,
You would think
yeah,
so, but
definitely,
it's whichever one
definitely.
is okay. Some of them are okay with being cast out into the cold, but I don't know
Yeah,
which one will be most comfortable with it. I guess we'll find out. I guess
yeah.
we'll find out.
You see, I've
Anything
got
I
the American flag there for you, Jack, in the background. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got the American flag flying for you. Yeah, come on, the Yanks.
maybe
Somebody was
last thing
questioning your Yankness earlier in the
I was,
chat,
yeah,
weren't they?
I'm almost becoming
Yeah.
de-yanked at this stage, Ellie. I'm gonna respond to this later, but Ellie, maybe you get a quick response to it, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna let you plug your channel and get you on out of here. But
yeah, of
John Stokes
course.
says Poro's 45 million release clause can only be triggered during the summer of 2023. Sporting are now
Oh,
asking Spurs for a higher fee to release him this month. That's coming from Marco
ah,
Conterio. I'm not sure. I've never heard of
right.
Marco Conterio, but if this is true, I mean, gosh, we're getting really kind of,
Oh
pushed
my
around here by
God.
Sporting, let's be honest. Like they're
Yeah, they're
playing they're
trying to
playing
milk
hardball the way
us.
we do it.
Yeah, they're trying to milk us for a few more bucks, aren't they? But
Uh-huh.
at the end of the day, he's worth it. So it's worth getting him in. Whatever we have to pay, just bloody pay it. I'm fed up with this club not getting deals over the line because they're too skimpy with the old checkbook. No,
Mm,
put the money
right.
down. If that's what it costs, sorry, put it down.
Mm,
Don't let us fans down because we're excited about this player. We want him over the line. Come
mm,
on. Even
mm.
Sean Butler made a song for him. I don't know if you heard it, but
Can't
it's
let us down.
absolutely brilliant.
Can't let
Yeah,
us down. Can't
Shawnee.
let us down. Exactly
Can't
right,
let
Ellie.
Sean down. He's made a special song for him.
I think you're right,
Yeah,
Ellie. I think you're right.
yeah,
Well, I'll give you a
true.
response to this later, John and Mark, in just a second, but I'm with you, Ellie. I
Yeah,
think that's the right way to look at it.
that's right.
Anything that I didn't get to let you say though, Ellie, and then give your
No,
channel
you,
a plug?
you you covered everything, Jack.
Okay,
We
okay,
did a good job there.
okay.
All
I think
right,
we
we're going to have a fan show tonight on THFC till I die as well. So
nice.
Dermot and I are going to be back. Maybe Mia as well if she responds to Dermot's messages. Come on, Mia, if you're listening to this, Dermot wants a response from you. I think we're going to go live at 7:30 so that we don't upset anybody, and also. It's nice for Dermot to get back into the swing of things because he's like he said, he was getting bored for one day. He had one day off. Right,
Mm,
he needs to do it. He needs to do it. And
mm.
me, I like the fans' interaction. It's very nice. As you know, you've been running your fan shows for yonks. It's really good to have the fans come on and give you their opinions.
I agree. It's nice. It's nice, and
Magic.
I get to have a good chat with all of you. Especially, I enjoy even these
Yeah,
individual ones as well because I feel like
yeah,
we get to have a good sort of back and forth kind of chat. I do enjoy them. But Ellie,
yeah.
thanks for getting me started.
Thank you. And
Thanks for opening it up.
I'm looking forward to KVP because I love him. He's a
Yeah,
he's a geezer. What? Who let their dogs out? KVP, KVP.
exactly right. Exactly
Come on
right.
then.
Well, Ellie, we'll see you soon. Come on, you
Take care,
Spurs.
Jack. Bye bye then. Good
Bye.
luck with.
See, thank you, Ellie. Very good one, Ellie is. Good egg she is, everybody. Please, please, please show her some support and show that channel, THFC, Till I Die, some support, please, everybody. Got a few things I got to respond to in the chat here. Fabrizio Romano, I guess. Pedro Porro to Tottenham, matter of time. All parties expect a deal to be completed and then officially sealed by the end of the weekend. That's what Fab Romano said. But now something from Marco Conterio is saying that Porro's 45 million release clause can only be triggered during the summer of 2023. I think we all were under the impression it could be triggered at any time, or basically it could be triggered right during the January transfer window, but maybe it's during the summer of 2023. That's a curveball. Sporting are now asking for a higher fee to release him this month. I am very I don't know if John Stokes, because if this is true, if this is the case, it is very worrisome. I'm kind of waiting for kind of a response from like Tottenham Tiers or response from Fabrimano here, but I'm not really seeing anything from Fabrizio. I'm not seeing anything from Tottenham Tiers yet when it comes to that sort of tweet. So I'm going to kind of maybe sort of just excuse it to the fact that maybe there's something having to do with, I don't know, maybe the cup final, and now with this kind of time that there is, in between now and the cup final, some stories are going to come out about how maybe the deal isn't going to happen and things like that. But I don't know. It's a very confusing one here, John, and it's very worrying. And you just kind of feel like just get the job done, just get the deal done, because we need to get this player as soon as possible. I think we need a right wing back of any kind as soon as possible. And if I guess Porro isn't done, then please just have something, already ready, as a backup too, because I don't want us to go without a right wing back. I think we need at least 3 signings this January transfer window. And they made Pedro Porro the top priority. I think that was, well covered this window too, that they made Pedro Porro the top priority. So they better follow through with it, John. They better follow through with it. And also as well, apparently, Newcastle have agreed a deal worth 40 million plus 5 million pounds in add-ons for the likes of Anthony Gordon with Everton. Me personally, I'm kind of glad that we missed out on that. I don't really. Anthony Gordon, it just feels like he got a big head like really quickly. I don't even know if he really was all that spectacular for Everton last season. Like, don't get me wrong, he was a good player for them last season, but I don't really think he was really worth like kind of the prices and the fees that he's being quoted around. I know he's a young English talent, and you have to look at that, as a factor for why maybe the prices are so high. But at the same time, like I don't know, it looks like he got kind of a bit of a big head. Let's be honest, he came in looking like a young kind of, innocent sort of kind of Evertonian, and then now he's bleached blonde hair and everything. I don't know. I just kind of want to stay away from that guy. I kind of just want to stay away from him. He doesn't look like he has the best of attitudes either. At least that's my opinion there, John. That's my opinion, my man. Carl Simpson asking, has Sevilla got any quality center backs we could take in the deal for Hill if he wants to go? Jules Koundé, I think, went over to the likes of Barcelona, so he missed out on that one. That could have been a good one. Diego Carlos then also went to the likes of, I think, Aston Villa. So basically, they just sold both of their center backs. So I don't really think so, Carl. I really don't think so. I'm not aware of any good center backs that they have, at least at the moment in time. But maybe anybody that knows, please let me know. Please let me know. But big yourself up there, Carl. And also Moldy Pickle saying Leon wanting Sanchez, but he doesn't want to leave. Also, an unnamed Premier League club has a bid above PSG's bid for Skriniar, with Skriniar waiting to see if PSG will up that bid. Better be Spurs. Interesting there, Moldy. Very, very, very interesting. I think what's very frustrating is the likes of Sanchez is, I think, unwilling or like reluctant to leave apparently this season, which just shows like, it proves the average players that, are in the squad from the Steve Hitchen era and still even in some cases from the Paul Mitchell era that basically still have not left. And they just are happy to, sit around and, continue to pick up it feels like the wages for the time being, because they know that it's probably not getting much better than Spurs in their career. So they're happy to stay around and stick around for as long as they can. It's a sad truth, it seems like. And if Sanchez is unwilling to go, it's just really frustrating, because he's somebody that I think has probably been needed to be shipped off at least probably 2 to 3 years ago, at least in my opinion. But also as well, like, we need to get rid of players that take up that foreign spot, I think, in the squads and in the depth charts as well. And he needs to go in order for us to bring in a new center back, to fill that in. It's just kind of blocking the way. It's very frustrating there, Moldy. It's very frustrating indeed, my man. I'm going to get to a couple more people in the chat here, see if everybody's doing okay. Louise, good to see you in the chat. She says, Ellie, you always cheer me up. Positivity with a healthy dose of reality. That's exactly what she does. That's exactly right. Vince Vega, how do you rate Star compared to Scarlett? I think Scarlett is miles ahead. I think they're just two different positions, to be honest. Papa Matasar, I don't think is miles behind, actually, Scarlett. I think Papa Montessar actually looks brilliant. He's played in a North London derby and looked better than Højbjerg. Like, I don't know if Dane Scarlett can exactly do that. I don't know if Dane, it's just also two very different positions, at least for me. I don't know if you can exactly compare, their development at this stage, but I think I'm happy to see that Dane Scarlett's out on loan. At least that's for me personally, my man Vince Vega. But hopefully you're keeping okay. KPV with the member super chat. Big up KPV saying Kulusevski is a beast. He can run past everybody in the Premier League and he can bully defenders. Put some respect on his name. Come on, you Spurs. KPV, one of my favorite things about Kulusevski is he also just loves to show them the weight room, my man. He absolutely loves to show them the weight room after he skins past us, man. He doesn't even need pace, at least in my eyes. Doesn't even need the pace KPV. But let's get on to the next guest of the evening. It is going to be the Dermatron. See what he has to say. How are we, Dermot?
How real?
A little kind of confused, Dermot, because it feels like the Pedro Porro news, we're kind of left in this, moment where we're feeling like it's going to get done, but also news maybe suggesting that they're now asking for more money and things like that. And I don't know, Spurs are usually not the one to, follow a team along in this sort of path. They probably would give up if they get kind of, messed with. And Sporting, they're playing hard ball with us, Dermot.
Look, if Romero, I'm not Romero, what's his name?
Pedro Porro.
No, the Twitter man.
Romano.
Romero. If he doesn't say it, then I don't believe it. I don't believe anything else that comes on Twitter, because there's a lot of people coming on with, oh, I've got this, I know this, I've got this person that knows the source, I've got this source. Unless I get it from Tottenham Tears or him, I don't really believe it. But if it is true, then I think it's ridiculous. And we've got to pay the money. We need him. So just pay whatever we need to pay. We can't keep skipping on players. And if we want Conte to stay, we've got to prove to him now that we will back him properly. This is what this is about. If we can prove to him in the next week or up to Tuesday, look, we're doing our bit. Now it's time to do your bit. He then signed a new contract. We've got to prove to him that we're going to do our bit. So that's what it is. But unless Tottenham Tier or somebody else comes out with it, I don't really believe a lot of it, because there's a lot of people putting on Twitter, my source says this, my source says that. Unless I hear it from them too, I don't really take much notice. But if it is true, then it is worrying.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of waiting for Fabrizio Romano or even Tottenham Tears in some way to even Tottenham Tears, I think, would probably put it out by now if they maybe did, take it seriously. But at the same time, let's not rule anything out here. Like, it has dragged on. It has been frustrating. It has had its twists and turns. It feels like this Porro deal. We have even seen rumors in the very, very beginning how it was a deal that maybe was more likely to be done in the summer and things like that. And so I don't know. It could go any which direction. It really could. But I just feel like this is maybe just I personally think if I were to put out some sort of, conspiracy there, I think it's maybe just something that's just being put out there just to unnerve us a little bit. During this, before the cup final and everything, I think it's just something done to kind of rattle us a little bit.
I think so. But this is Tottenham. What would surprise?
Rattled me, I'll be honest, Dermot. It has rattled me. Let's
nothing shocks us anymore. This is Tottenham, and we all know what the Don's been up to, so God knows what he's cooking at the moment.
And people always have been using this recent reference, right? Fabrizio Romano did say Danjuma was all but guaranteed for Everton, right? Like it's anything is possible.
Anything's possible. I mean, the video was done, that he had everything done to join Everton, then Tottenham came in, and I think it's the first time in a long time we've hijacked a deal like that so late on and get it done as quickly as we got it done. So, we can do it. So let's just get on with it. Let's between now and Tuesday, let's get Skriniar in, let's get Pereira in, let's get a goalkeeper in, and then let's kick on then for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you make of Sanchez? Apparently, like, kind of like he's blocking the move, basically. Like he's the quote I heard was that he's reluctant to leave during this season with Antonio Conte still at the helm. Basically, like apparently he's he's some big Antonio Conte fan all of a sudden. Sanchez, like,
tell him it's a loan deal. And just don't tell him it's a permanent transfer.
Yeah.
Tell him we're putting you out on loan, we're bringing you back next summer, and just get him out there. No, just cancel his contract and just fucking tell him to go. Yeah. Cancel his contract. Do the same with Doherty. Do the same with Winks. I think Lo Celso, that deal might go through. I don't know if that's still. He might not come back. Dombele, if he comes back, cancel his contract as well. I don't care if this is going to cost us money. We can well afford it now.
To be fair to Ndombele, it looks like we could probably we're not going to ever break even on his whole situation. But it looks like he's done okay enough. I think it's been exaggerated how well he's done at Napoli, but he's done okay enough to probably someone will throw in, I think, some money. I think if Napoli didn't want to pay for it, I think somebody would. I think somebody would pay 30 million for him or pay 25 million for him or something.
I'll take that just to get rid of him. Get these players out of the club, please. You're doing our heads in. You're going out there pumping your chest and high-fiving each other, and the game kicks off, and you're thinking, oh, shit, now I've got to do something. Just go. Go, please. Walk out the door. Don't turn around now. We don't want you anymore. Just go. So,
what do you make of Pedro Porro war still to come in, Dermot? Like, can you play two attack-minded wingbacks in the case of Perisic and Porro, like with such a leaky defense like ours? Like, can you get away with it? Or is it maybe, is it not work that way? Maybe it is actually what we need is a more competent attacking right wing back down that side.
I think we need somebody to know what they're doing, who can defend and attack at the same time, because Emerson can't do either. Doherty can only do so much. He's very limited by his talent. Emerson is not. He's a right back, so he's not a right wing back. So if we've got somebody who knows the role, who knows what they're doing, I think that's what we need. But we need a central defender in. We desperately need that defense is leaky. We need a central defender in to shore up that defense to replace Dye. So you've got Romero, Longley, and say Skriniar in the back three. You've then got Perisic as a left wing back. You've got Perro as a right wing back. That's a decent back five. Then you just change your goalkeeper then in the summer, and then the start of next season, we've got one hell of a defense.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I think, look, we need him in. We desperately need. Conte's crying out for a right wing back, somebody who can trust to do the job he's asking them to do. And if Emerson can't do that, then we've been lucky. We're fifth in the league, and we've been lucky with the defenders. They've cost us so many points. And if we had decent defenders, of all the points we lost, we'd be in the middle of a championship challenge right now. If we had if we added up all the points that the goalkeeper, Dyer, Emerson, and players like that have given away so far this first 6 months of the season, we're in the middle of a championship challenge now, and that's the frustrating part. That really is the frustrating part.
Do you feel like will Conte let three right wing backs sort of hang around like he has this sort of half season? Like, will he just ship off Jed Spence and then just keep Emerson and Doherty around, or will?
Yeah, I can see Jed Spence going out on loan. I can't see him going on loan to another Premier League club. He might go on loan to somewhere in Europe. Which I think is my right one German club's after him, I think, is it?
Yeah, I think German club. I think there's a French club, maybe Lyon could be after him too, I believe.
And I think if you're looking at Emerson and Doherty, I'd probably keep Doherty as probably the worst of two evils, really. Because Emerson, though he did play well against Fulham, I think that's probably one of his better games for us. But you can't trust him to do it game after game after game after game. He will make a mistake, the same as Dyer. I think if it was Doherty, then you may get a bit of consistency out of him. Yeah. He wouldn't be brilliant, but at least he might give it. He did have a good middle part of last season too. He got injured, so he can give you that consistency. Emerson, there's no consistency. He can't cross a ball. He can't. He just does. He goes past the halfway line. He looks like a headless chicken.
Yeah, it feels like. I think Pedro Porro will actually solve a lot more problems than you will like cause problems. And I recognize with this leaky defense that it is possibly the case that maybe they could get caught out. Like maybe Porro could get caught, maybe, a bit more than maybe, let's say, Emerson would. But I actually think the best solution is obviously we'd all want them to keep Jed Spence. That's likely, he's unlikely to happen. So I think you actually keep Emerson and Porro as kind of the two options to rotate, because we do know Emerson, I think personally, people could disagree, but I think he's a more safe defensive option than Doherty is. And Doherty has always been the more competent one going forward. But now that we have someone like Pedro Porro, I kind of see less of a reason to keep someone like Doherty around, because he's not that great defensively, Doherty, and he was better than Emerson going forward. But now we have someone like Pedro Porro who's better going forward for sure. So it's just kind of like I see less of a reason to keep Doherty. I actually see more of a reason to keep Emerson, crazy as it is.
It is. It's a lesser of two evils, isn't it? You're either damned if you do or damned if you don't with them two. So, you could put Emerson out. He could have a great game like he did against Fulham. But if you put him in tomorrow against Preston, he could have an absolute mare. You can put Doherty in against Preston, have a brilliant game. Put him in the net, keep him in for the next game and have a mare. So you sort of, Conte sort of, well, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. At least if Pedro comes in, you can stick him in there and at least you know he can depend on them. And that's all he wants, players he can depend on. And look, I sort of agree with you with Emerson on that, on what you said about keeping him instead of Doherty. But, you know, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, Jack. Do you know what? I don't know what you would do, but you do make a good case for keeping him.
Yeah.
And, you know, with Doherty as well, people can say, well, Doherty's better defender for cover than Emerson. So you really don't know. But it's
Yeah,
just,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, Dermot.
You want them to be consistent. That's all you ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And our defenders have not been consistent this season. Really haven't.
Yeah. What do you make of this Hill situation? Like, apparently, you know, Sevilla have made him their top priority is Bryan Gil to bring in under Sampaoli, and Spurs are listening, or Spurs are willing to go into talks about it. It's a bit of a U-turn, if you ask me, because after he had his, you know, really good week where he was taking advantage of the chances he was given, Stellini said he was going to stick around till the rest of the season. Conte was giving him some praise and everything. It's just a bit of a U-turn, if you ask me, Dermot.
Yeah. Look, I want Hill to stay. I don't want him going anywhere. I think he's made enough of an impact when he came in. I think he's made enough of an impact to earn him to stay. I think Conte likes him. I think if you let him go, look, I can understand people saying, look, let him go back to Seville where he comes from for the rest of the season, let him build up. But wouldn't it be more sensible to keep him here, build him up for the start of next season? So give him the FA Cup games, give him odd league a bit, give him like a cameo, come on at half time or 60 minutes or 70 minutes in games, even start him for an hour. Let him build up, get him used to the Premier League, let him then go into the gym, build himself up. You know, we could have a world star in our hands. And I think if it's just for a line for the rest of the season, I can understand that. But don't sell him, keep him, because we have a world star in our hands, and he could turn to be the next Modric, or as we like to call him, Gil Messi. I still think he can really fit in that cam role behind the strikers.
I just think Dermot, I brought up earlier the fact that like we have had an imbalance like in the squad this whole season, where with Kulusevski being out, with Richarlison being out, with Lucas being out, we've had 3 attackers consistently missing. I want there to be 6 attackers there to choose from. I want Gil Messi to be the understudy to Kulusevski. I want Richarlison to be brought in for Kane when Kane needs a rest, or maybe you need that extra striker there. I want also their Danjuma to be kind of rotated in with Sonny. So it just feels more right to have 6 players kind of rotating in. And I think Conte would prefer it that way too.
Yeah, you need cover for everything. You need cover for all the front 3. Look, this Danjuma deal, for a lot of people not happy with it. I'm actually happy with it because it gives Son cover for the first time. Also gives him competition. Son's never really been put under competition in his place at Tottenham. And now for the first time, we've got somebody to come in that could come in and, you know, take his shirt, take his spot in the team. So maybe this might be the spark for Son to move up a gear and try to get back to what we know we can do. But no, Hill, please stay, because look, if Kulusevski's injured, then Hill can fit in there. If Sonny's, or now we've got Dujama, but just say Sonny's injured and Dujama can't play, he can fit in there. Yeah. He can fit anywhere in that front 3 and also sit behind. I can see him as a cam player as he gets on and do that sort of Modric, Glenn Hoddle sort of role. And, you know, I just think we need, if it's 6 months loan, then yeah, fine. But keep him in the Premier League. Send him to a championship side. Send him somewhere where he can get used to the English game and then start bulking him up. If you put a bit of weight on him and he gets used to the pace of the Premier game, Jesus, we have a player. Me and Philip Brady, he reminds us of Ginola, because every time he runs, he just cuts in. And Ginola used to do that, run down the line, then cut in. A bit like Tony Galvin as well, back in the day. So, look, I love when he plays. He excites me as a Spurs fan. I get on the edge of my seat when Hill starts running, and you know something's going to happen. So we need to keep players like this because we need them at the club. We need flair players. We've been known for flair players over the years. We need flair players, and he's a flair player we need to look after. Wrap up in cotton wool, but also bulk him up, get him Premier League experience, and let him go. Because next season or the season after, we're going to have a world beater on our hands.
Yeah. I just feel like for me, Dermot, it's just imbalances the squad. Like even whether you don't like Hill or not, like whether you're biggest fan or whether you hate him, I just think you would have to admit, anybody would admit that why get rid of that player that we know can be like a realistic sort of kind of understudy or a realistic backup to Kulusevski, and also won't complain too much about the minutes or anything like that, I'd imagine too. So it's just it seems like you have to then, you create another problem, I think, for yourself. I think you actually have to, because we sold Stevie B last summer. Lucas is basically gone as well. He practically is already gone. Those are two attackers that we've needed to replace. We replaced one of them with sort of Richarlison, but we still need to replace the other. And I think getting rid of Hill Messi only furthers that problem where we need to replace these attackers with somebody, at least, me personally, at least.
I mean, if you were to go out and buy somebody like Gil Messi on the transfer market, say in 2 years' time, say we move forward 2 years, we had to go out and buy somebody, how much would you pay for a player like that? 60, 70, 80 million? Somebody that's world class. And we have a potential world class player at our club already. Let's keep him under Conte.
I just think we need to just replace the position then. I just think we need to get a new backup then. If you don't like Hill, then we still need to get a new backup. And we leave our squad, I think, because this whole season, people have complained about there not being enough attacking options on the bench. But if you're getting rid of Hill, then you're getting rid of one of those attacking options. And we already have Lucas, who has been missing this whole season as well. So that's just, I don't know. I think we just make our problem even worse.
I just think, look, it comes to a point where we've got to start using our heads when it comes to these players. Conte knows what squad he needs to win stuff with. Leave it to him and Paratici. Look, we all know this other stuff with Paratici. Look, there'll be appeals put in. I'm sure that will go on for months and months. But we've got to leave it to Conte. He knows what squad he wants, and Hill is part of his plans. He's played him. He likes him. You saw the reaction he got off when he came off against Palace.
Yeah,
the hug he got, and the Conte telling him Conte likes him, and he is going to be a world class player one day. And to have that at our club, that shows a little bit of, look, we believe in our young players. We believe in our talent. We believe, and it was a Don signing as well. And a lot of people criticised him, but some people have kept the faith, and we've kept the faith because we know there's a player there, and he will turn out to be a world-class player, and he'll be in our shirt as well. That's the good thing about it. So don't go. Stay at the club.
Keep the baby. Keep our baby. Yep. Drew says, understand they need to go, but we offered those guys contracts. They signed it. It's on us. We can't be mad if they don't want to move. Just an unfortunate situation. Big yourself up, Jack. I think he's referring to the Sanchez situation. And Drew, I think you're right. Like we kind of do sort of, we all say like, oh, they need to go. They need to realize they're not good enough and do us a favor. But let's be honest, it's been on us for not realizing that these guys aren't good enough. And we've been rewarding them with contracts that they don't deserve. And sometimes you just kind of have to pay the price for that. Like you have to realize that it's sometimes on you. I agree with that, Drew. And I think for me personally, that's under the era of Hitchin. There were so many players under the era of Hitchin that were just giving contract after contract for no reason whatsoever. Like just, they did absolutely nothing to warrant being given new contracts, and they were just being awarded for no reason. And I don't know, it's a culture that hopefully might be gotten rid of, but if you see Dyer getting a new contract, I mean, if Davies, I think he got a new contract, right? Like it still shows that Spurs are still doing it. They're still rewarding players that really, we all know, just aren't good enough at Spurs, and they're rewarding them with new contracts. It's a hole that we dig for ourselves, Drew. It's a hole that we've dug for ourselves.
It really is, Jack. Just very quickly on that. Look, we've dug our own grave on that. So we have to reap what we sow at the club. It's a case of we've offered these players new contracts. They didn't deserve the new contracts. Dele Alli got contract after contract up. Look what's happened to him. Davis, Sanchez, Dyer all got new contracts. They don't care. As long as they get the extra. They may say we care about the club, but I'm sure they care more about the money they get. And they don't deserve these new contracts. So, I mean, Hitchin's got an awful lot to answer for. And again, Hitchin seems to get a free pass when it comes to the Paratici argument. Do you know, he always seems to get a free pass. Yeah. He created that culture. He created the mayhem in that department that we found ourselves in.
And the money wasted during that time.
And the money wasted. So he needs to take responsibility. And nobody seems to be pointing the finger at him. They're all laughing.
No, he's wasted more money, in my opinion, than Paratici has as well. He's wasted way more money than he has.
He has.
Wayne Bonner says, Jack and Dermot, passion personified. Big yourself up, Wayno. And if you heard me earlier, Wayne, we might Hill Messi. He could be leaving us. He could be leaving us, Wayne. I'm kind of just left. I don't know what to do, Wayne. I just don't know what to do, my man. He also says 2 best Tottenham channels in one place: Irish Hotspur and THFC till I die. Big yourself up, Wayne. Very, very kind, brother. Very generous as well, brother. But anything that we can say to Wayne here, Dermot, but I mean, I'll be honest, it's not good news for him. He's a huge fan of Hill, and I know he wants to see him kept around. It's that Kulusevski understudy, but if they're giving him to, maybe it's a loan deal to Sevilla, but it just feels unnecessary to me, Wayne. Just feels unnecessary, because if we're going to loan him off to Sevilla, I think we should bring in another forward of some kind as well that's willing to be able to play that Kulusevski role, because we need that type of creativity. We need someone who has that ability to thread that pass like he did to Harry Kane against Crystal Palace and things like that. We need that type of player there. And if Kulusevski or if Hill Messi goes, then we need to find a different one. Like, even if you don't rate him, like, then we should go after Marcus Edwards or something like that, you know, to do it. It just feels like it's an unnecessary hole and an unnecessary kind of problem we're creating for ourselves, I think, if we get rid of him. Yeah, and that's regardless of your opinion of him. I think it's just you're creating an imbalance in the squad, in my opinion, Wayne.
You're right, Jack, on that. And look, we won't know. It might not happen. So let's keep the faith. Let's keep hope that, look, Tuesday, 11 o'clock, he'll still where he is at Tottenham Hotspur. Going in on Wednesday, patting Conte in the back. Thanks for keeping me and just putting in the hard work and just get me in that gym, build me up. I want to be the best player I can be at Spurs. And that's what it would be. So, look, I've got my fingers crossed. he will go now. If I have to go over there and force him down, strap him into the training ground, I will do. I'll do that. Me and Jack will do that. We'll fly over and we'll strap him to that training ground so he doesn't go anywhere.
Dermot, what's your kind of lineup for Preston tomorrow, my man? And that's kind of my last questions for you here is, and then Wayne Potter says, so Messi's going nowhere. I hope so, Wayne. I hope so. Let's keep strong here, Wayne. Let's get in that negotiation table and just do just put our fist down on the table and just say no more. You can't be talking to him. Keep Hill Messi away. Not my baby, Wayne. Not my baby. Big up, my man. Good to see you.
Don't put baby in the corner. So a film years ago once says you don't put baby in the corner. You don't put Gil Messi.
They can't touch my baby, Wayne. They're not allowed to steal my baby.
Oh Lord, showing me age now of that film. Look, tomorrow I think.
Do you rest Harry Kane?
No, I'll start Harry Kane, and look, get 2 or 3-0 up, and then rest him. Let's start the game. The FA Cup's important. It's our competition. It used to be our cup. Let's go out, score 2, 3, and 4 in the first, 2 or 3 in the first half, then rest them, and then then take it. But let's go for it. We've got to win these games. We're on the road to Wembley. The FA Cup's ours this year. So I rest playing 45 minutes and then rest them. Take them off at halftime. Let him break Jimmy Greaves' record completely, set a new record. And it's such a chance for us to win the FA Cup this year. I'm so excited about this FA Cup. We've met Preston a few times in the FA Cup, but most memorably, we've beaten them twice in the semi-finals. We beat them in 2021 when we won the FA Cup. We lost to them the following year in the semi-final, 21-22. But I think it's 2021 was the year we won the FA Cup. We beat Preston. So we've beat Portsmouth in the third round, who we played in the 91 on our way to the cup final. Now we're playing Preston, who we beat in the semi-final 2021. So do you know what I mean? It's our year. Maybe it's going to be our year. Can I read something out, Jack, that I meant to read on Monday? And I want to thank everyone for your kind messages, kind words. It really meant a lot to me for what everyone said, the private messages and everything. And I just want to thank everyone for the kind words. Have to have more tests done in the next few days. So, lot more to go. But I just want to say thank you, everyone, for your kind words, because it really meant a lot on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. I was pretty scared and low and pretty fed up, and all the kind message, you have no idea how much it meant to me. It was very overwhelming, but I really do appreciate it. And from the bottom of my heart, I just wanted to thank you. And also thank you to Ellie, Philip and Mia, who have been really supportive, and you as well, Jack and Dave, and a few as well, all been so supportive, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you. But Jack, I wanted to read this on Monday before I had a pre-game injury, a bit like Nick, Spurs Medical Centre again. Just get rid of them all. No good. Make you worse than you feel better. Right. And we are doing the show in this on Monday. I just wanted to read this out. It was after watching Chris Cowland, and they got me writing this down. This is what I wrote. What does it mean to support Tottenham Hotspur? For as long as I remember, Tottenham Hotspur is my club. I followed as a child, teenager, then as an adult, see us win FA Cups, UEFA Cups, League Cups. Now we're not the club we once were. We've lost our identity. The club has lost its soul. The club has lost its way. Tottenham Hotspur was a club that connected with fans. We were a family club. If Bill Nick could see the club he built, he would be embarrassed and ashamed of the club we have become. Many owners from Scholar, Sugar, Levy and Enoch have let us down, let the managers down. In 2001, we were bought by Enoch and Levy with a promise of playing Tottenham way. 20 years later, it's still the same. Not backing managers, letting players rules. Under Poch, we had a manager who played the Tottenham way, the free-flowing attacking football. But again, Poch was not backed. We had a chance to go to the next level after the Champions League final, but again, we did nothing. We did not back Poch, who deserved at the time to be backed. Time to put it right. But again, the same players who are still here now threw Poch under the bus, did the same under Jose, Nuno, and now Conte. The club has no direction, no ambition, no soul. Off the field, the owners have done a great job, but on the field, they have let us down big time. The club need to give us, the fans, something to get behind. Tell us what their vision is. What have transparency with us fans. Mr. Levy and the Tottenham, us fans. Tottenham, who have taken the club, that means everything to us. The foundations that were laid by the genius of Bill Nick, now they have broken. Managers after manager, sack Poch, Jose, the circus that went in getting Nuno, then sacking him, then getting in Conte. They're not backing him fully. My own thoughts are the owners on this. I'm not happy what's happening at the club. We starved of success. For me, players need to take responsibility, as do the owners, because it's the same players who let Poch, Jose and Conte down. The owners also need to take responsibility over backing managers, spending money on decent players, also get rid of the deadwood. 41 years I've supported Tottenham. I've never been this lost, upset with my team. I've never felt disconnected with this club, with my club. This summer, we risk losing Harry, Kane and Conte. For me, the blame lays at the feet of the players and the owners. The club is lost. Tottenham Hotspur, you broke my heart. You've broken me. You've broken fans. I just want my club back. I miss my Tottenham. And that's what I wrote after seeing Chris Cowland.
Well written, Dermot. You covered so much there, my man. You covered so much.
It means, this club means everything to me, Jack. And when I was in the hospital on Tuesday and Wednesday, I started watching old games back in the 60s and 70s. And we have a rich tradition of Tottenham Hotspur being the club that everyone wants to be. We were a family club. Bill Nick would be embarrassed to see how we are now. The foundations, the house he built is gone. Tottenham Hotspur is not Tottenham Hotspur. It's whatever. That wasn't a Levy Enoch out message. That was something from my heart about everyone who's let us down. The Hitchin, the players, previous owners, way back since before Keith Birkinshaw left. After he left, the club started to go on the decline. And we are the best fans in the world. We went away to Old Trafford in 1982, Jack. Now, Old Trafford at the time holds 60-something thousand standing. Spurs took 32,000. away fans. We outdid nearly the home fans with our away fans. In the 80s, Tottenham Hotspur had the best away support in the country. Them and Arsenal from North London. So it shows we are the team. We are the best club. We're Tottenham till I die. I'll always will be. But I just miss my Tottenham, and that's what upsets me.
Beautifully said, Dermot. Beautifully said. And I hope they give it back to you, my man. I really do. I hope you find that love again, but I know we'll find it again. I know we'll find it again, brother.
We will one day. We will one day.
It's good to see you.
It's just going to take Dave and you to take over the club and put me as manager, Ellie as assistant, Mia looking after QT, and we'll have Wayne Bonner in there as the sporting director, buying the place. We will get our Tottenham back.
A lot of people love you here, Dermot, on this community as well. Vince Vega saying, big up, Dermot. We love you. Big up. Louise says as well, be well, Dermot. Rob Belcher saying, it's really great to see Dermot. He means so much to our community. Take a bow, son. Big up.
That's one thing I didn't think I was well liked in the community, and that's the one that shocked me a lot, that how thought of I am in the community, and that was the bit that really got me. And I want to thank everyone for the kind words and support. And look, I've got a long way to go, more tests to do and to find out what it is. But look, I'll keep pumping out content because I love Spurs. I love talking about Spurs. So you ain't getting rid of me that easy.
It's not that
you ain't
easy.
getting rid of me yet. Let's put it that way.
Love you, Dermot. Love you, my man. But please give your channel a plug, Dermot. Please give your channel a plug.
We're having a good time with the channel of mine. We're now 1,051, so we're getting there. We're on the march to 1,100. We've got Fan Zone tonight. We've got the watch along tomorrow for the Preston game, and then Monday we're doing I Miss My Tottenham debate show. We're doing that at 5, I think, before your fan show, Jack. So we're going to Dave, we'll all be on here. You and the legend. You're both are. And then we just got stuff coming. Then we transfer deadline day. We're on from 4:00. So we're going to go through the transfer deadline day and who comes in, who doesn't come in, who do we want, who we don't want. We're going to go Wayne Bonner, send him round to do a few players, get by scruff of the neck, get in there. We'll have Rob Belcher, driving them around, a bit like the hitman, right, come on, you come to Spurs. And we'll have Ellie then out and about in Tottenham somewhere, grabbing fans and just saying, right, you're coming to Tottenham. So, by the end of the transfer window, we'll have 7 players in, all the deadwood out, and Conte signed a new 10-year contract. So, but no, we've got that coming up on Tuesday and a few other bits and pieces coming up. But yeah, if you like what I have to say and what Ellie has to say and Mia as well, and of course the Godfather who's back from his latest holiday. That man has more holidays than the TDs over here. I think he's become the Minister of Foreign Affairs, where Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think that's his new job title now. The Godfather is, but he'll be back next week.
Minister of Tourism has fewer vacations, you would think.
Yeah, well, I think to bless him, I think he should get a government job. He does enough tourism for Ireland, so I think the government should give him a job over here.
Maybe so.
But big up Philip if you're watching. But yeah, if you want a bit of fun, a bit of laughter, but a bit of history and just me talking nonsense, then you know where to come. Hit the like button, hit the description, but do it here first because these lads are my inspiration and the mothership to my channel, and always will be the mothership to this channel. So
good man.
Thank you so much.
Man. Well, I'll be catching you very soon, I imagine. But Dermot, really well said. So many beautiful things you had to say, and just really powerful as well.
Oh, before we go, we've got some breaking
really
news.
Well written, I must say, too, Dermot.
Yeah,
really
we've got some breaking news. Inter Milan are set to open talks with their defender Bastoni. Ahmed reports interest from Tottenham Hotspur.
Where are you getting that from?
It was from your man. What's his name? Fabrizio Romano, yeah. That
don't see it yet.
It came up on my thing on one of the links there. I'll send you the link if I find it. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp.
Okay. Keeping a good eye on it. I'll keep a good eye on it. But love it, Dermot. Love it.
Thank you so much.
Crazy. Big up, Dermot. We'll see you soon, brother.
See you soon.
Everybody show Dermot some love, please, with that link. Really, honestly, really well written, I thought. Really beautifully said. Just a lot of things that I think he covered. He really covered and encompassed a lot of things of what's wrong with the club and why a lot of people feel disillusioned with it. And it's just, it was really well done by Dermot there. So please, everybody, show him some love. And he's very well loved in this community as well. T.O. Isaac, Conte, that's all I have to say. Excuse me, lads. Good stream. Big up, T.O. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. And it's a Friday afternoon. We're waiting for this Porro news to get done here, Tio, and I'm just waiting for some sort of confirmation of some kind, and even maybe that, like the whole Bastoni situation, like Dermot said, that's a little crazy. I don't know what to believe about that. Everybody, that seems a little crazy. Maybe Inter Open talks about Stoney, then we get Skriniar. There you go. Exactly right, Wayno. Exactly right, my man. But let's bring on the next guest of the evening. It is Mia. Hey, how are we, Mia? How are we?
Hello.
What's going on?
Not too bad, not too bad. Long time no speak, Jack.
Long time no speak. Exactly right. Well, since the last time we spoke, Mia, it feels like the Porro deal, we're going to have to wait till the end of the weekend for that to get done. It feels even more kind of like we're being left, to hang here even further, right? It's just torture at this stage.
Yeah, I've just read though, Paul O'Keefe has said that the thing that's been posted about the release clause isn't even a thing because we're not paying the release clause. And plus, I thought that they had said anyway, we pay the release clause or we don't get him. So, like, obviously, I don't think the summer thing comes into effect because they did say that before when they were asking for the release clause. So I don't really understand where that suddenly come from. It seems like they've sort of come out of the blue saying that. So I don't really quite believe it. And I've been reading that he's not a very reliable source that said it. And I've not read it anywhere else. So
it just seems like something like a bit of a, like something to kind of scare us during this time period, wouldn't you say, maybe? Like,
yeah, and that's what it kind of feels like because there's nobody else reliable saying it. And like I say, to me, Romero only a few hours ago said it would be done by the end of the weekend, and nothing was mentioned about this release clause and them asking for more money because at the end of the day, it's nothing to do with the release clause because we're not paying it. We're paying, obviously, we took that as the amount that we could maybe get him for. So it wasn't really like we're not paying that anyway. And as I say, there's nothing mentioned about summer anyway. They said either pay it or don't pay it. That's what originally was stated. So I really don't know where that sort of come from, to be honest with you.
No, I don't know. Like, it just sort of feels like anything can happen right now with the way the hijacks have gone and things like that. I just feel like you can believe anything. Like you can feel confident that we're going to get this done, but you can also see with the Danjuma situation, with the Mudryk situation and things like that, like things can be completely undone, and so it feels like you kind of have to always take everything with a pinch of salt, but also, kind of acknowledge that anything can still happen.
Yeah, no, of course I do understand that. Like, obviously, I'm still like a bit like, oh, I just want it done. But I do think that he's going to announce it after he's played this game. So I think that's probably what's the biggest thing. I think he wants to play this game and not announce that he's leaving because it's not going to look very good on him. Or maybe he just wants to say his final goodbyes at the actual game to everybody. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Do you think though? Maybe it's with this Porro thing, like it's also just the fact that like we're just basically waiting till that cup final gets completed, that any sort of, I don't know, it just feels like any news is just going to be released basically. Like they're just going to kind of, fill the news space or like fill the airwaves with like, updates that might not actually mean a whole lot, it feels like in this time.
Yeah, possibly. It's just like I say, I think it will be done. And although anything can happen, I do think that it's to do with this cup final. And I think that that's probably why it's been held up. And I think they're just doing it to panic people. I do think they're trying to panic us a little bit as well.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. They are trying to make us panic. But I also feel like you said, like, feels weird that this information is only being released now too, that the the release clause is available in the summer and things like that. It does feel a bit weird and maybe kind of strange that it's so last minute that we found out about that. But What do you make of maybe certain Bryan Gil actually getting released, Mia? Like, you kind of share the
Well,
sympathies that I do, that it's just kind of unnecessary and would kind of cause some imbalance in the squad?
oh, do you know what? I think he needs playing time though, so maybe that's what they're thinking. If we're going to loan him, because I think we want to loan him, but not to sell, because he might need time. Because I do think that he needs a bit more time, maybe to eat a few more, like a few more pasties, a few more like slices of pizza, chunk him up a little bit. He needs a few more carbs in him, and some protein shakes. He needs some really good protein shakes, that boy. Um, so maybe that's why. I think it's probably the playing time, because if you think about him as a footballer, he doesn't want to just be lingering on the bench, does he? Because they have to promise him time. And if they've said to him, listen, you're probably not going to get time, he might have just said, well, can I go out on loan? It might be to do with him more than it might be the club. It could be that he wants to get time to play.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it is. And he's been kind of waiting for his chance, at Spurs, and I think he's been taking it when he's been given it, but it's probably likely, maybe with this Danjuma move and everything, he's unlikely to sort of see a lot of play time, and maybe that's what he wants, and he's just somebody that backs himself to get a lot of playing time. I just feel like him going to Spain too doesn't help us out much either. If you ask me, Mia, too, like, it's just kind of like last season. Like, I don't think it really helps his development too much, at least when it comes to us. Like, I think he should go to another Premier League club, or go, I don't know, like to the Serie A or something like that. I don't know. It just seems a little silly again, for him to go back to Spain, basically. For me, it doesn't really benefit us, I think, in my opinion. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes from here. What do you make of, with Porro coming in? Who do you think goes, Mia? Like, do we keep 3 right wing backs around? Is that possible?
Well, I'm sort of in agreement with you. I think that we need to keep probably Royale over Doherty, because I think that Porro is going to do what Doherty supposed to do, but a lot better version. And then with Royale, he maybe is a little bit better defensively. So maybe we need somebody who is a bit more defensive some of the time, depending on who we're playing. So I don't know, but I can't see him getting rid of Doherty either. It's a really strange one. I can't see him doing that. But because who would Doherty go to? Is anyone even interested in him?
Yeah, I don't think anybody really is, to be fair. I think he's already kind of like, this is kind of the height of his career, I would say, for Doherty. It's not getting better than this. I think, like, he probably would go to the Championship, at least in my opinion. I don't see a Premier League team going in after him.
And
Especially, it's not even like really a Premier League quality right wing back, in my opinion. Like, and that's his position. That's his specialized sort of position, but I don't think he's really Premier League standard.
Has it? And also, has there even been any interest in Royale either? Has there been any? Like, the thing about it is that we're all happy to say we want them to go, which is fine, but it's about whether anybody's actually interested in them, because where we're going to send them. That's the thing. And although I do think one of them probably should go, and I think Spence is going to go anyway. I think he's going to go out on loan. Maybe they're thinking to keep Royale and Doherty around. Because I just don't think there's anywhere for them to go.
I think there probably isn't actually a real exit available for Doherty, so we probably do just have to, be forced to keep him around. But what do you think? Do you kind of agree with what I had to say? Whereas I know you're probably not a big fan of Emerson or anything, but he does offer maybe a bit more defensive solidity than I think Doherty does. And now that we brought in Pedro Porro, who's that more attacking option, I feel like Doherty doesn't really have much of a purpose, like, really. Whereas, unless he improved dramatically defensively or something like that, like, he doesn't really have something that Pedro Porro doesn't. And you would say, like, Emerson has that, ability to be able to clear, he's a good aerial presence in the back post and everything like that. Like, I would say Emerson has more of a purpose, than Doherty does, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you on that. I do agree. I do think that he has definitely got more purpose in what he like. So what he can do, and what he can do is defend, and he's actually he's okay at that. Where Doherty's supposed to be going forward, but he's not actually that good at it. Do you know? So whatever their little niches, at least Royale is actually okay at doing it. Like, he's okay with his head, like you say. And defensively, he's better than Doherty is. And Doherty, going forward, he's not very good, is he? So, I
Yeah.
think Emerson's probably, slightly better. He's defensively better and
Mm.
slightly better at it than what Doherty is going forward. So, but
Mm.
like I say again, Doherty, where we're going to put him. So where's he going to go? It's going to be a case of wait until the summer to try and ship him off somewhere if they can. I don't know if they can or not.
Yeah, it'd be hard to think that if they can, and also it's so late in the window to kind of get players that being sold as well, and even just recently, Sanchez too, right? Just that he's getting kind of linked with some French clubs in Liga, but apparently he's happy to stay, supposedly, Mia, which is again frustrating because we have players that we know that aren't good enough, and maybe even these players themselves know that they're not good enough, and so they're just going to stick around as long as they possibly can.
Do you think we should get some like T-shirts made up saying that we don't want you for all these players that they say they're happy to stay, but that like give them this T-shirt and say, look,
A
we don't
Deadwood
want you.
T-shirt.
Yeah, Deadwood, and then on the back, we don't want you. Like, because we
I don't
just
even know if
like,
they would care, to be fair. It just seems like with Sanchez, like, saying that as well, I think, like, the quote was that I picked up from it was, like, he's happy to stay as long as, like, Conte is here for the season or something. I was like, "Oh, apparently he's, like, Antonio Conte, big fan now." Like, he's a big Antonio Conte fan, even though he
oh,
warms the bench every single game. Like, it just I don't know. It seems like a lot of these players have grown way too comfortable here, and it's our fault, though. It's not even as very much their fault. It's our fault because we have refused to challenge them by bringing in new players to take their spot, and we've let them kind of, grow comfortable here, and it's probably more so the defense than any place else. Like, the midfield has been shaken up, you would say, a lot. The wing backs and everything have been shaken up a little bit and have been kind of rotated. Like, we are continuing to try to get new right backs and stuff like that. And same with the attack. The attack has been rotated, but it's just the defense. Like, I feel like they are the group that is just the most comfortable at the moment. Like, they
so
just have never been properly challenged, and they've never had anybody come in to take their spot except for Romero and Longley. But both of those, funny enough, because it shows how poor they are, have instantly taken their spot. Instantly.
yeah. So I've got a question. That's just thought of. Would you be happy to get less players in the summer and buy out some of these contract of these players that obviously we can't get rid of? Would you think that's a better way of doing it? Is to maybe get a few less players but buy some players out of their contracts so then the dead wood is gone? Because don't forget we've got players coming back as well from loan. So that's obviously something else that we've got to think of with these players that are going to be coming back. So see, like a Sanchez, would you be happy just to pay him off and say, see you later, off you go? We don't
Yeah.
want you, get out of
Like,
here.
would you sacrifice part of your transfer budget just to get rid of some of the players a bit more?
Yeah.
I feel like you don't need to go to that sort of extent. Like, I think you just need to allow them. I don't know if that's the case where they really aren't willing to take any move whatsoever. Maybe you do have to do that and go to that sort of case like it was with Aurier. But it feels like what more needs to happen is our sort of evaluation of some of these players just needs to dramatically go down. And we need to realize that we're trying to sell these players, not trying to like scam anybody or not trying to get the most out of it. Like, we're just trying to offload these players. And if you're trying to offload them, you're going to have to take a cut. You're going to have to take you can't take the same profit that you normally would. So that's how I think our problem is that we just continue to, value these players much higher than they really are valued. Like, especially that the Exhibit A example was Winks over the summer. Like, everybody laughed in my face for saying that Winks would never, I said he would never go for any transfer fee of 10 million or anything like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that we evaluate our players like that highly, in my opinion. So it's just, I think that's what it
Well,
has to be. We have to have a more realistic evaluation of some of these players, and players like Sanchez. I think like you'll be forced to listen to bids for like 5-10 million maybe for players like Sanchez. I'm not kidding. Like, I don't see
I
anybody
think
coming in for like 15 million,
no.
outside of the Premier League for somebody
But
like
the problem
Sanchez.
with that, Jack, is that see, with like he's got a contract till 2024. So if he doesn't want to leave, then he doesn't have to leave. So that's
We
what I'm
might have
saying
to buy
about.
him out, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so because the thing is, by taking less money, we're only losing money anyway. So we might as well just give him the money for the contract and say, see you later, because that's another person off our books that everybody keeps saying that we really do want him gone. He has to go. And that is actually one way of doing it, by saying, bye bye, see you later. Here's your money, off you go. Or try to do a deal with him and say, maybe give him slightly less and then just say, well, we'll give you the whole lot now if you just go. Please just go. Like,
I think to Sean Maddox here, I think this conversation is coming from the fact that Sanchez has apparently denied a move to leave. He's been like Spurs have been speaking to some Ligue 1 clubs, and supposedly he's reluctant to leave at this moment in time, Sean. So that's the point, is that Spurs are listening to bids and are receiving bids potentially, or at least interest from some clubs, but the player is putting his foot down saying he doesn't want to leave. So in that case, you probably do have to buy out their contracts and have to force them to go, like, because they're not going to move for free or move for any type of money. It looks like in some cases, some of them are just going to try to stay here as long as they possibly can.
Because if you think about it, if a club comes in for you and you don't think that club, you think you're above that club, you're going to not want to go there, because you'll be like, I'd rather be known for Tottenham than I would some like team that's so low down in another league in another country. So he's thinking, brilliant, I'm getting paid, I'm getting associated with Tottenham, no props. So that's why I think buying out someone like him, buying out his contract, if he's putting his foot down, is the only way to get him out of here, because other clubs have done that, and we have done it like we did with Aurier. And I do think it's a way of getting some of the dead wood out. And yeah, we're going to sacrifice maybe some of our summer money, but is that not worth it when people are complaining about this guy being such a dead wood player?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope we have a big shakeup this summer when it comes to getting rid of players, but I'm a bit worried that we won't, because the history is that we usually find it very hard to get rid of players, because either we evaluate them too highly, or simply in some cases they're that bad that they don't really get very much interest really at all. And so I think it's kind of a two-part thing. Like, we either need to really take a look at ourselves and how much we evaluate these players, and we have to really push them out there as like, please just take them, we'll take any price, or we're going to have to, find some way to, like you kind of promote, like, just ship them on. Like, we just have to be much more ruthless than we are, because keeping them around in the way that we have has caused us problems, and also bringing in players. And it also has caused us problems in where the manager looks at it. The manager has seen certain players stick around and stick around and stick around that he knows probably aren't good enough, but he has to kind of back, because he knows that they're probably not going to be shipped off. Exhibit A would be an Eric Dyer. He's stuck around for so long. Like, these are players that are near testimonials, so he knows, like, he has to tread carefully when it comes to even, like, talking about them and, like, leaving the club and things like that, because they've stuck around much longer than the managers have, a lot of these players.
Yeah, no, it's true. But we do need to be really ruthless. Like, to me, I would line them all up and give them certain colour bibs, and I'll say, see everybody in the green bibs, then yeah, you're not wanted. You're going to get sold, mate. You're going later. And if you don't want to go, we'll just buy out your contract, because do you know what? We ain't got time for this nonsense. We need you to get gone. We need you to get gone. And if I know that people always say that they don't invest their own money, but if Levy and Enoch would invest their own money, to me, I would want them to invest to do that and get rid of people, because then that way as well, it's a good promotion to the players, because the players coming in and the players we've already got think, oh, damn, we better do well, because if they don't want us, they just ship us off. They don't care. Like, they don't give a damn. Like, you have to be seen as a team that's ruthless. To do that is a good thing, because I think it then bucks the other players' ideas up a little bit, because they're a bit like, oh, okay. Like,
by selling players, it also forces you to bring in replacements too. Like, I think that's what it is with Spurs. The reason they don't want to sell players is because they don't want to bring in replacements. They don't want to have to spend the money to replace them when they know that they do need replacing. And that's where Neil Shafton says it's better to take a loss on an asset than continue to carry a liability. I completely agree, Neil.
Yeah.
And he says it's still money freed up if you sell for less than what you paid. Completely agree, Neil. I think
we agree with that. But obviously, as we were saying, some players saying, I don't want to leave. That's where you've got the problem. Because even if we are getting lower offers and they don't want to go, then you can't really do anything about it until their contract's up, because they can just put their foot down and be like, actually, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
That's where you get a bit of an issue.
Where do you stand on this transfer window, Mia? Like, if it feels like, for me, I don't know if you agree, but if it ended tomorrow and let's say we got Pedro Porro and we got Dan Juma and it ended right there, it doesn't feel like that's still a great window, because we didn't get rid of a lot of players, and also we still didn't get a center back and upgrade in other positions. So it feels like there still needs to be some business done, right?
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like maybe an extra one player, a centre back, would make a really big difference. I think that would make a difference to a lot of people as well. We'd all be like, rate the transfer window much higher if we just got that centre back in. I think if we, without the centre back, I think it's like a 6, maybe a 5.5, 6 window. With a centre back, I would say like a 7.5 window, because I think that would be, you know, real improvements to our team with Porro as well. That would be like a really good improvement and could push us in the latter half of the season to actually try and get that top 4 spot and possibly get the FA Cup, because the FA Cup's something that we reasonably can think that we can get, because a lot of Premier League teams have been kicked out of it, and we know either Arsenal or Man City are also going to be out of it as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
it's an opportunity for us.
Preston, you want to talk about that for tomorrow? What's your lineup? Who do you want to play?
Do you know what, the lineup is very difficult, because like we spoke about this, like for me, I would put a strong lineup, especially the back line. I'd go super strong. The midfield, I'd probably play Benny, and I keep saying I want Benny and Sarr because I think that Højbjerg needs a rest, and I'd like to see how it goes with them two in the midfield. And I know that apparently Kane and Richarlison are not feeling too well, but hopefully one of them will at least be okay. So I would probably play a Kane, and I would want to drop Son. Actually, Son's probably the one I would drop, and not because I don't think because obviously that is apparently our strongest lineup, but I don't think Son has been good this season. So I would actually want to drop him and put someone else there, and maybe swap it around, because you know Perisic can play there. So maybe put a Perisic there because he can play in that position, and then put the new boy on as well. If we're doing well, he can jump on, can't he? Then Danjuma can come on and
you wouldn't maybe give Sonny a rest outright, just maybe not start Danjuma, or is that maybe too much?
I think it's too much to start Danjuma. I think that's why I said put Perisic on instead in that position on Sonny's side, and then bring Danjuma on, and then not play Sonny at all. Yeah, not play Son. I won't play Sonny, and then Richarlison can come on as well if he's okay.
Sure. Can you give Kulusevski a rest, or is that also too much of a risk?
I think that Kulu's he has been injured, so really we want him to get back to match fitness, don't we? So he hasn't been playing that many games where he's been out injured. So surely it'd be better for him to become match fit.
And then right wing back, left wing back. I mean, right wing back, do you want to see, what is it, Doherty, Emerson? What's your choice of poison?
Oh my goodness.
Probably, or is Jed Spence going to be given a chance? I
highly doubt it. I would probably say Emerson, because I think Emerson's come the last few games. He's actually been right.
I'm with you. No,
I think he's been okay. So I would say probably he is slightly preferable over Doherty. But again, sometimes we say that and then he'll just have a stinker. So who knows? Like, it's a bit of like a picking out of the pot, in it, like, you know, close your eyes and which one you're going to pick, because neither of them particularly that good. So
Well, Mia, is there anything I didn't get to let you talk about? Is there anything that you wanted to say that we didn't get to touch on?
No, I don't think there was anything. I think I speak enough. I think you see enough of me and speak enough to me.
Well, if there's something like Dermot had a prepared speech and everything, you never know. Like, I was glad that I asked him that. I was glad I asked him that, right? Because he had that speech
that's
prepared
right.
and everything. So
I'm not that. I'm not that organised to have a speech ready.
Yeah. That's why I asked. Tell us about your channel, please.
Spurs Between the Lines. I put out regular content covering matches, covering some transfers. I do. I put out my content out there for everybody to listen to. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm trying to improve it as I go along. I'm on 149, I think, subscribers, and I'm pushing to try and get to my 200, which would be amazing if I could get to that 200 mark. Because everybody's been so great and supportive so far, but I also ask for constructive criticism. So if anybody's got anything they can give to me, I'm open, my ears are open, I'm happy to listen to people, because I want to make the best content for you guys, but you obviously have to bear with me because I'm very new to it. So talking to myself isn't my best thing to be able to do. Like, I do struggle with that. Talking to myself and talking to a camera, I find really difficult. So yeah, I'm okay talking to somebody, but talking
Good
to
to talk
myself,
to someone, not at yourself. Yeah, I know what you're
yeah,
saying.
it's
Yeah.
so much harder. It is a really hard thing to do. And I don't think people really realise how hard it is, because as well, you've got things that you want to say, and then sometimes you miss-say it, and you've got to say it again, and then you miss-say it again, you've got to say it again. So it can be quite tricky actually, but to do the pre-recorded stuff. But the pre-recorded stuff is just easier for me sometimes to be able to do both. But I did do a live yesterday with Jack, so if you want to go and check that out,
Please
it's
check
actually
it out.
got 445 views so far. So that's actually pretty good. I'm really impressed with
Smashing it.
that. That was
Smashing
actually that was a brilliant live. I did enjoy it, even though technical issues happened. But you know,
I think
and
it was you had to scrap it up because it was just we knew that the next one was going to be so good. So
that's
take
it.
two is always better.
And then
Yeah.
take two went a bit wrong in the middle, but actually that was StreamYard. I got an email this morning saying it was StreamYard's fault that we both got kicked out.
Oh, that
It
makes
was them.
sense because I was very confused there as well. I was, and then it was only temporary, but we battled against the
The
conditions.
That's it.
Battled against the constraints we were put under. But big up,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for having a chat with me.
no worries. Thank you for having me as always, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. We'll be seeing you soon, Mia.
See
Pick
you soon.
yourself up.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
rest of your Friday. Bye. Everybody, see Mia's link in the chat there. Please show her some support, everybody. And also, like she just said, I was on her channel yesterday, so do have a look at what we had to say and just kind of the preview of the Preston game, as well as some other interesting topics. But last guest, it could be the last guest, at least maybe of this afternoon. Mark New, love chatting with this guy. Here he is.
Mate, Jack, mate, Jack, mate, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. I wish I was on this walk with you right now, Mark.
It's a bit of a walk in the fresh air.
Sounds good. It sounds good. We're delaying. We're being delayed even further, Mark, on this Pedro Porro situation. It's almost like a delayed flight, right? Where we're sitting at the gate and we're just still waiting, and we keep getting delay after delay after delay. Are you worried, or do you feel like it's just going to resolve itself, and by the end of the weekend, he'll be a Spur?
Well, it's a fair point. Well, I think it's a fair point. Well, I think it's a fair point. Well, I think as regards Porro, I think in terms of the deal, my understanding is he wants to come to us. They want to sell to us. The only risk is the longer it goes on, will the deal be taken over? Will it be hijacked? So I think in terms of Porro, he's a decent enough player. A lot of other teams are going to be. So sniffing around. I'm sure in terms like Chelsea may be around that lot down the road. So how to put it? My feeling is the other teams are sniffing around. I think what it comes down to, not that they want him for their squad. They've got deep pockets. They may buy him just in effect really to stop us.
Yeah. Do you feel like also? What do you make of the fact that Sporting are playing such hard ball with us, Mark? You almost got to give them a little bit of credit, right? Because we're usually the team that plays hard ball with everybody,
exactly.
but they're getting a taste of our medicine, it feels like here.
It's exactly. And I'm sure as regards with Sporting, and I'm sure obviously as regards them, as I'm sure they obviously see what's happening on the grapevine. They see all the news, all the gossip, what's happening online. So I'm sure they can obviously, I'm sure obviously got their own playbook. When Spurs come calling, here's your playbook with your scenario. The Levy low ball. Don't accept the first 5 offers. After 2 weeks, then see if we get close to a deal.
We're going to continue to lowball until there's no more lowballing left, I imagine. That's how we usually operate. Who do you think, can we get away with 3 right wing backs for the rest of the season here, Mark? Like, how do you see Conte handling that? Because he has to get, unfortunately, he might be moving on the Jedi for, a loan. Where do you actually, just because I know you love the Jedi and you are kind of a beholder of the Jedi prophecy, where would you like to see him go, Mark? Where would you like to see Jed Spence be, loaned out to?
I think in terms of, especially in terms of say with Spence, it's been a really, really tough time. I mean, obviously, I've seen some of the photos with him online, and the guy looks down. You can see his head posture, everything about him. The poor guy looks really pissed off, and I totally see that. what the guy needs right now, he needs some love. I think the one club who would take him in a heartbeat was Forest. So I think in terms of Forest, the team would welcome him back, the fans would welcome him back. The only tough thing would be he'll get so settled back in there. They'll say, right, the loan's up. Do you want to come back? And he'll say, really? Really? Do I really want to come back? So that my feeling is that is the only thing. But how should I put it? In all seriousness, because obviously it depends in terms of with next season, is it Conte in or Conte out? But the fear with Conte, if he won't play him before the loan, who's to say will he still play him? Still playing for later on at the end of a loan.
Yeah. But I feel like maybe with Jed Spence, it's just kind of a wait and see. Like it sometimes feels like we maybe make our mind up too early on players, Mark, but also we think that the player the manager makes his mind up on the player. It feels like their impression can be changed. Their opinion of the players can be changed. We've seen it before happen with big managers. I remember it was Jose Mourinho had like a change of heart on a few players in time. I think Antonio Conte's had a bit of a change of heart when it comes to Hill, right? He's given him more of a chance than he probably would have in the past. So you do look at it like maybe someone like Jed Spence goes all out on loan. Maybe he goes to a Premier League team, kind of shows us up a little bit, perhaps has a great season. And Antonio Conte can maybe look at him as someone that, yeah, you know what? I will use this guy next time around.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true. It's true. 100%. If I say in terms of Spence, my feeling always goes back years ago to Bale. When Bale first came, he played in defence. I'm still sure to stay with Bale. Was he left wing back at first or right?
Left wing back.
Yeah. Was always there. Was always on the left. He was cursed. Every game he played, we'd lose absolutely every single game. And obviously there was a car just passing through, but it was there. But there did obviously come a stage when he's saying, mate, I'd love to play you, but we lose every fucking game when you're on the pitch. And I mean, it was a whole big thing. And I think as regards with Bale, there was one game or a series of games when performances improved. He started to win. The monkey was off his back. The curse was lifted. The Bale curse. But you obviously see Bale afterwards when he played, and you think, really? Absolutely amazing player. So it's possible with Spence, whatever Conte's issues, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch, political, financial, the Levy stuff, all the stuff in. If Spence goes out on a loan and he not just proves himself, he is on the front page of all the papers or the front page of all the big, front page of all the big news stories. I think Conte, if he's still here, would have absolutely no choice. He would actually be demanded to be on that pitch. So I think to a certain extent it does come back on Spence, and hopefully will come back in a positive way. He will say, you know what? This is my chance. I'm going to prove it. He'll have the fans behind him, the lonely club, the lonely manager behind him. And if he goes out there and really delivers, I think then he has a golden opportunity to come back.
I feel like as well, we've heard that the kid does have a good attitude. We've heard that he's wanted to stick around as much as he can to learn from Conte, but also prove that he's willing to go through this, tough period of not being picked, and he's willing to fight for his spot. And you have to admire that sort of attitude, I think, in a player. You really do, for me, Mark. But let's see how it goes with him. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Apparently, a certain Bryan Gil, though, could be leaving me. Mark. This is really sad news for me and Wayne Bonner here, because I really do think he's the right understudy to Kulusevski. Sevilla, he's their priority, supposedly. Like, that's who they really want to bring in order to help their season here. It worries me. It feels like it would imbalance the squad. Do you have any strong opinions on this? Are you okay with seeing Gil maybe put out on loan, or do you want to see him stay?
Well, it's a close call. In terms of Gil, I'd actually have him to stay. But only if he gets guaranteed game time. But not game time the last 5 or 10 minutes. He needs decent game time in the second half. And I think what it comes down to is Conte able to change his tactics and use the bench, either use the or play some of the newer players and the younger players? And I think maybe to a certain extent this then maybe comes down to the choice of manager. Is it Conte or is it Pochi?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a bit of a U-turn for me, Mark. That's kind of why it's just I'm so worried here is because after his good little week with Crystal Palace and the FA Cup game and everything, he had his good week. And Stellini said he was sticking around. He had good words for him. I think Antonio Conte had a bit of praise for him. So just sort of feels like a bit of a U-turn if all of a sudden then he were to go. At least to me it does. But I don't know. It's maybe getting a bit ahead of myself, and maybe he might not actually be headed anywhere.
It's true. But I think in terms of it's true. I think in terms of destination, a lot depends on which club he gets loaned to. It's to a PL club, a Premiership club, then because that's the key thing he needs for his game to bulk up, more physicality. That's when he will only get that. If he stays, only get that if he stays in the Premiership. Whether I'm not sure in terms if he either stays with us. I'm not sure the space. Maybe say Rangers. So up north, because obviously they've got a very physical game up there. We've obviously, with terms of obviously as regards to the Rangers, say we had the pre-season friendly with them. So I think there's still reasonably good links between both.
I've heard Ian Ferguson say that he wants Hill to go to like Celtic or Rangers or something like that. That's not a bad shout at all. I think toughen him up up there. Toughen him up in the north.
Sure.
Can we play Perisic and Porro at the same time, do you think, Mark? Because they're both so attack minded, right? Perisic loves bombing forward, Porro loves bombing forward, but we have such a leaky defense. It's can we get away with it?
Well, I mean, it's true. It's true. I think as you're saying with Porro's stats, says that sure in terms of Porro's stats, his XG, his XA have been really, really good. But in defence, he is vulnerable. He's weak. I mean, I think in terms of, say, a little bit of strength in defence, what it probably comes down to, and I know as you mentioned earlier, as Mia mentioned as well, the one player who the fans want out but maybe needed right now, so the man Emerson. Whether I'm not sure in terms of Emerson whether he's either going to start the game, be on the bench, some sort of support there. I'm not.
I was going to say, I think Emerson is sort of the defensive maybe option, and now I sort of feel like there's less of a reason to keep Doherty around because Porro is more of that attacking threat. That kind of Doherty we always knew was better than Emerson going forward in most games, but Emerson was, I think, always better defensively. But now that we have Pedro Porro and we have a Jet Spence still, maybe in the future, it feels like Doherty all of a sudden kind of falls down the pecking order a little bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Exactly. Yeah, it was 100%. Sure. So it's a very good point. I think as Mia made in the previous call as well. It's not just the players we get in; it's it's some of the deadwood we need. Some of the deadwood we need to get out. So, and especially in terms of, as you mentioned, players like Sanchez as well. Whatever it costs on the contract, get them out. Because obviously, in terms of like as the money that Levy will lose on the contract, but the moment they stay, it's the salary that we lose, but also the whole squad. The whole squad is just dragged down, and those players really got to ship that. I'm not sure in terms of the next couple of days if you can either make big steps to get them out. But obviously, looking ahead, because obviously depends in terms of say like the end of June or June 23rd, whatever the date is. Conte's contract is up. He will obviously see what's the options. Stay at Spurs, move somewhere else, and he will see coming down the tracks towards him. The Celso's coming back, and so Dombele, Winks, the players still here, players like Sanchez, Tanguy, all sort of stuff. So I think I think in terms of things like that, that would obviously be a huge. I think in terms of those, if those players are still hanging around here by the end of the season, that I think would be a huge push to push Conte out.
Do you feel what's the starting lineup for tomorrow, Mark? Who do we want to see play? Do you go with the big, strong lineup? Do you throw Harry Kane up top? Do you start him? Do you maybe play Richie? Do you play Bryan Gil instead of Kulusevski? What's your lineup looking like tomorrow?
Well, in terms of things, in terms of things with the game, what I'd love to, I think it's very much say, as Mia said earlier, start strong, get goals ahead, then rest them for later on in the second half. So start up front, maybe say Kane up front, or even better, let's say Pitchy is number 9, and so to lead the line. Kane maybe dropping behind him. I'm just start with Gil Messi. Give Kula a bit of a rest until the second half.
I feel like for me, Mark, I kind of want to go with a mix of a stronger lineup, but I also want to give some players some rest. I think I want to give Harry Kane a bit of rest. I think it's time for him. He's been playing so much, and Richarlison hasn't been there to give him a rest in other games, and we've had to just play him when he definitely did not need to play every single minute, but Richarlison just simply hasn't been in there to step in. So for me, I'd like to see maybe Harry Kane perhaps be given a rest in this one. And maybe if we need to bring him off the bench, we bring him off the bench. But that's how I sort of see it, at least for me, Mark. I think Richie should come in and maybe even, dare I say, rest Kulusevski too. But I don't know. I guess he doesn't need the rest because he's sort of been injured and things like that as well. But that's what I sort of think. I think you do rest Harry Kane for this one. And also apparently he might be ill, actually, says Leslie. He may not play anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. They're saying in terms of say, like, players who's fit or who's not. But I think the other thing in terms of, let's say, going front, what's going to happen with Sonny? I mean, obviously, in terms of say like to rotate, he is the one player who really just he's a rest. The fans know it. Everyone who sees him play every single week in, week out in the stadium, the guy needs a rest. He's either physically, emotionally shattered. He needs a rest. But I think the key thing within that, would Conte take it on board? Would he allow him to rest? Just keep him on the bench. But if he's on the bench, the one player I'd obviously love to see starting tomorrow, or he's not starting, at least with decent game time, is the one player who we know Conte is almost unlikely to play. Free the Jedi, mate.
I know.
Just play. I mean, he's looking around in Portugal, in Spain. Can I just find I wish I had a player out there. Man.
Give us a taster. Give us a taster of the Jedi. I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, anything I didn't get to let you say or anything that maybe you wanted to talk about before I let you go?
We'll say it's fine. We'll just say, pick up especially for Dermot, mate. We all love you, mate. We got your back. Big up to you. Big up to you, Jack. Pick up as well to Big Dave as well.
Thank you, Mark.
Well there. If I say in terms of things, the games coming up, it's going to be a live game. It's on BBC Sports, Sky Sports. My feeling is the reason they've got us up there because they're looking for a giant kill. They would love to see us be knocked out, but I think in terms of the cup, the magic this club has with the cup is something very, very special. So I think whatever they're doing on Saturday, there could be some surprises, and I think surprises won't be us losing. I think surprises will be who's on the hat trick. And I think if Conte pulls it out of his hat and says, you know what, I'm going to give bloody Spence a game, free the Jedi, go on, come on, you Harris Army. In Conte we trust, and in Pochi we trust, in the Harris Army we trust. Come on, mate.
Love you, Mark. Love you, Mark. I'll see you soon, my friend. I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Catch you soon, Mark. Have a good evening. Have a good Friday. Come on, you Spurs. See you soon, Mark. Good man, Mark is. He's a very good one. Absolutely love that guy. But bit of kind of breaking news here, everybody. John Stokes saying Porro's 45 million release clause can only be triggered during the summer of 2023. Sporting are now asking Spurs for a higher fee to release him this month. And then Mark says, this is just in, Sporting now asking for more than 45 million euros to sell Pedro Porro. THFC finally offered 45 million euros, but Sporting now claim the offer is very late and now want more money. Spurs will go no higher. And he says also the source from that one is reporting problems with the Porro deal, and they have 3.2 million followers on Twitter and are a big publication in Spain. Very, very worrying. It is very worrying, Mark. I'm going to keep the faith at the time that I think it's going to be done. I think by the end of the weekend, Pedro Porro will be a Tottenham Hotspur player. Their personal terms agreed, I think, as well. I haven't seen any news before from the likes of Fabrizio or anything saying that, the deal for Pedro Porro was like, or the release clause was triggered. It can only be triggered in the summer. That seems like very, very late news that no one knew about, I guess, until now. It just seems kind of like maybe just something to potentially cause a bit of scarebong. I don't know. Maybe we're just scaring ourselves a little bit, but it could be plenty valid. It also could be plenty valid, Mark. And I'm glad that you put this in here, my friend. From what I would say, though, is I haven't seen anything from Fabrizio. I haven't seen anything from Tottenham Tiers either. Those are kind of two of the sources that I at least use for Twitter for trying to figure out any sort of updates. And I haven't seen anything from them, but I do appreciate the fact that you've looked kind of well deep into this, my man. And, it's worrying. It's very worrying. What I would say is Sporting, like we've been talking about 45 million this whole time. Now, all of a sudden for them to like act like, they need more money and, push us further down. I think they're actually kind of egging us on here a bit too much. And I think they're actually pushing us around a bit. I think it's a bit frustrating. I think 45 million is plenty for him. Yes, maybe we could go to like 50 or something like that, but I just don't think he is like worth, like, I don't want to have it be a Cucurella situation where we brought in, a wing back for 60, 70 million, whatever Cucurella was. Like, I just don't want it to be something like that. So I think Pedro Porro, they should stick it around this price. If they push us around any further, maybe we have to look at some second option. Like, I don't know, a Ridley Baku, who I really like, is over at Wolfsburg, maybe like a Wilfred Singo or something like that over in Torino. Let me know, though, Mark, because it feels like if they push us around further, I could see maybe why Spurs would want to pull out, because these all seem like sort of last minute kind of like changes, last minute sort of, changes of mind and things like that. And I don't know if Spurs, want to get into that, because it does feel like it would concern me at least a little bit. But pick yourself up, Mark, my man. And there it is, everybody. Good to see you in the house, Tequila. Hopefully you're keeping okay, my man. But I think we're going to end the fan show there, and we're going to come back tomorrow with the pre-match build-up and with the watch along and all that good stuff for the likes of the Preston game, all that the match day kind of festivities, or all the match day kind of content that you're kind of looking forward to tomorrow. We'll be here on the Irish Hotspur, led by myself. I will be leading a pre-match build-up tomorrow, as well as we'll be doing the watch along. So do hit that like button, please, on your way out, everybody. Really do appreciate everybody that's been tuning into this fan show, everybody that's putting in the comments as well. I've been trying to engage with you guys and bringing up your comments on screen and kind of just respond to them as best I can. But I do appreciate you all that have tuned into this one. Thank you all for the support this week. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Hit that like button on your way out, everybody, and I will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs, and in Conte I trust. Everybody!